Chapter 549. Haha. Well done. You did a great job suppressing them. In the Nether prison, when Nether saw the two lifelike true dragons being brought in by the divine light, the excited gleam in his eyes shot tens of feet away, and he shouted excitedly, although these two true dragons are Zhu Wuqing's nascent divinity, he obviously didn't want you to hurt his own divine sense, so he didn't even leave behind his divine sense. This is equivalent to plundering two true dragons with uncountable amounts of purple mist. Even an empire with billions of lives would need hundreds of years to accumulate the chi of Purple Emperor chi inside. With the purest chi of Purple Emperor chi in your body, you can immediately form your own Dharma idol in the Imperial True Acupoint. Great harvest. This is really a great harvest. Such a huge amount of Purple Emperor chi is enough for you to form several Dharma idols. Once you have the Dharma idol to help you refine your body, you can truly begin to approach the indestructible body of a heaven demon. Dark snarled, "It's a pity that Zhu Wuqing got away. That void divine carpet is a peerless treasure. It contains the power of space, and it must have been fused with the grand Tao of space. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to break through space and enter the Godfall abyss. Otherwise, if you could plunder all of Zhu Wuqing's primordial spirit and absorb all 7 true dragons of Purple Emperor chi, you would definitely be able to reach the heavens. How strong would that be?" Clearly, he lamented that Di Shitian missed a great opportunity to improve his strength. However, there was nothing he could do about it. After all, the foundation of the Eternal Emperor dynasty was far from what a new demon like Di Shitian could compare to. Any random treasure he took out was an earth-shattering supreme treasure. A profound look flashed in Sakra's eyes as he coldly said, "The foundation of the Eternal Emperor dynasty is extremely deep, and this Zhu Wuqing is the 3rd crown prince of the dynasty. His status is extremely high, and this time, I destroyed 3 of his true dragons, causing his cultivation base to fall by 3 levels. However, his true cultivation base is only at the Immortal Emperor realm. With the foundation of the Eternal Emperor dynasty, the loss of these 2 true dragons can be quickly recovered. After this, there will be no more buffer space between the Eternal Emperor dynasty and my demon city. The next time we meet, we will be enemies." Everlasting Imperial Dynasty? Everlasting Imperial Dynasty? Only those that had existed for more than 10,000 years could be called immortal imperial empires. Within those imperial empires, there would definitely be an endless amount of Purple Emperor chi. If he could plunder it, my strength will rise to an unimaginable level in an instant. From the moment he fought with Zhu Wuqing, he already knew in his heart that from today onwards, there would be another terrifying enemy in front of him. He had made a great enemy, but he didn't regret it at all. So what if it's the Eternal Imperial Dynasty? Once I build the 1,000 Demon City and obtain the 4 gates, the 1,000 Demon City will be impregnable. No matter how strong the enemy is, I won't be afraid. Victory or defeat, all depended on this one move. Lunatic Di, that sun chariot is good stuff. Wastrel, most of it is actually made of sun essence gold. A small piece of sun essence gold was priceless. It's good stuff. They're all mine. At the place where Zhu Wuqing had fled, the sun chariot was still standing in the void. The divine radiance on the chariot was dim, and the ancient patterns on the chariot flickered with a mysterious aura. It was surprisingly not damaged in the battle. A divine light brushed past, and the sun chariot was instantly swept away. It dissipated. It was directly swept into the 5 elements plate in the divine eye. His eyes were like candles as he swept over the red tide below him. In the crimson tide, even with his current heavenly demon cultivation, he could barely prevent himself from being pulled in by the suction force of the crimson tide. One could imagine that as long as one was below a heavenly demon or a venerable one, if one stood on the red tide at this moment, one would be instantly pulled into the tide and crushed into powder. The 10 great divine weapons of the 10 great immortal sects, after sinking into the red tide, strangely did not make the slightest sound, as if they were really swept into the red tide and crushed into powder and completely shattered. The 10 great immortal sects all have divine weapons to protect them. Although the heavenly stage soldier soul attacked them and blasted into the red tide, relying on the power of the divine weapons, even the red tide would not be able to do anything to them in a short time. But now they don't show any signs of coming out. It seems either something has happened, or they are intentionally spying in the dark, waiting for the opportunity to reap the greatest benefits. Di Shitian was very shrewd, and his eyes flashed with wisdom. Countless thoughts immediately turned in his mind, and he guessed all kinds of possibilities. He naturally understood that the 10 great immortal sects must be lurking at this moment. Lurking? Let you lurk. The purpose of my arrival has been achieved. Sakura's sudden appearance this time was, in fact, the most crucial thing was to seize the huge amount of treasures that had splashed out from the Scarlet Tide. These treasures might not be considered eye-catching compared to the Scarlet Tide, but the amount of treasures it contained was enough to make the ancient giant's eyes turn red with envy. As for how many there were, he did not count carefully. But after a brief check, this sweep caused a mountain of thousands of feet high to pile up in the space of the 5 elements plate. It was completely piled up with treasures. Although not all of them were valuable treasures, and there were more abandoned magic weapons, but even so, their value was still astonishingly great. The purpose of this attack had been perfectly achieved. Initially, he wanted to test the strength of the 10 great immortal sects. To test the depth of the artifact, Indra instantly dispelled this idea since they couldn't hide in front of him. There was another possibility, that the reason why the 10 great immortal sects did not come out was because they were afraid of the mighty heaven-grade soldier soul, and were afraid that the soldier soul would be drawn out again. The 10 great divine weapons were too powerful, comparable to a peerless expert. It was enough to attract the attention of the heaven-grade soldier soul. He swept his cold gaze across the surrounding void, as if he could clearly see the many existences hidden in the void. A large group of experts felt their scalps go numb, and their hearts beat wildly. They did not dare to look at his sharp eyes, for fear of offending this fierce demon who even dared to suppress the crown prince of the Eternal Emperor Empire. Di Shitian turned around and disappeared, leaving the red tide. When they reappeared, they were already back at the demonic beast's encampment. The demonic beasts could clearly see everything that had happened through the mirror image technique in the void. That earth-shattering mystique was like a seed that directly pierced into their hearts. Looking at Di Shitian, their eyes were filled with respect and fanaticism. A kind of worship for an expert could be seen unreservedly. Strands of milky white faith energy flew out from their bodies and entered Di Shitian's body. Even the monster kings were looking at him in a different light. They seemed unfamiliar. His feet unconsciously stepped back a little and subconsciously fell behind Di Shitian by half a step. Silverhair's eyes flashed, and no one knew what he was thinking. In his heart, he seemed to have made a big decision. Boom, boom, boom. The red tide erupted. Under the soldier soul's push, the entire red tide turned into a terrifying tsunami, rolling towards the depths of the abyss. It was mixed with a thick smell of blood. Everywhere it passed, heaven and earth were turned upside down. The heavens and earth were overturned, and the ferocious flow of water caused terrifying distortions in the space in front of the red tide. It was as if the tide of the era was unstoppable. In the red tide, countless treasure lights rose and fell, as if luring others to come and snatch them. However, those who could cultivate to become experts were not fools. Seeing such a situation, all of them hid in their inner worlds and refused to come out even if they were beaten to death. The crimson tide surged forward like a crimson dragon, roaring as it charged forward. Even the ancient giants were as small as ants in front of the million treasures red tide. That kind of majestic aura and invisible force could kill a venerable. Thousands of treasure lights reflected each other, connecting the water and the sky. The eruption of the red tide could be said to be terrifying. Before the eruption, they still dared to use their mystique against the red tide, but now, they did not even have the courage to show up. In front of the red tide, everything was so small. Boom, boom, boom. The red tide was unstoppable. It rushed straight to where the treasure basin and the money tree were. Moreover, it was very fast. In the blink of an eye, it covered the entire world. It crossed half of the abyss. Tian Can, heavenly yin-yang bridge. His eyes stared unblinkingly at the myriad treasure crimson tide that was rapidly approaching him and the group of demons. Sakura was like a pillar that supported the sky, standing tall and straight without moving, giving the group of demons endless confidence. Sensing the tide that was rushing towards him, a calm voice came out of his mouth. Tian Can's eyes were filled with madness. With a thought, a snow-white ancient bridge flew out from his body and landed in Di Shitian's hand. He shouted, "My lord, now is the time. With your current strength as a heavenly demon, you can cross the heavenly yin-yang bridge over the red tide. Don't, suppressing the soldier souls will consume too much energy. You can only last for 30 minutes at most." Within the crimson tide, not only were there treasures, there were also countless soldier souls. Once the ancient bridge crossed the crimson tide and wanted to plunder the treasures, it would definitely alarm the soldier souls. The soldier souls were incomparably ferocious, and once they attacked the ancient bridge, the pressure on the ancient bridge would be unprecedentedly great. This was a great test for Sakura. Under such circumstances, it was already a limit to last for 30 minutes. 30 minutes? That's enough. Di Shitian's eyes flashed and he said deeply, "The soldier souls are also treasures. Although the soldier souls are a kind of life, they only have killing intent in their minds. Suppress them, imprint them in their bodies, and refine them into puppets. They will be the best warriors in the world, the most valiant killing army." There was a fire burning in his heart. Ever since he set his sights on the Godsfall abyss, he had already calculated everything clearly. How could he let go of any benefits? Heavenly yin-yang bridge, suppress the void and cross the red tide. Sakura held the ancient bridge that seemed to be only the size of a square inch in his hand. Waves of pure royal true power gushed into the ancient bridge like a tide. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 550. Boom. Boom. Under the infusion of the Imperial True Force, the ancient bridge suddenly emitted bursts of snow-white light. The ancient bridge returned to its original appearance. Its color was snow-white, like snowflakes falling in winter. It was so white that people couldn't bear to destroy it. It was like the floating clouds in the sky, exuding a mysterious aura that transcended the mortal world. Countless cloud seals entered the bridge and seemed to transform into pure white floating clouds. From the looks of it, it looked more like a cloud bridge. It was so white and holy that people couldn't bear to leave any blemish on it, as if it was a sin. Following the bursts of light, the ancient bridge, which was originally only the size of a square inch, began to expand rapidly. Every time it expanded, the surrounding space would tremble violently, and countless cloud seals would appear on the ancient bridge. They flew into the air. One of them was on Di Shitian's side, extending directly into the void. The other end crossed the crimson tide and was above it, extending all the way to the other end of the crimson tide. The two ends of the ancient bridge were directly inserted into the void, as if they were connected to the entire void. A mysterious and ancient aura exuded from the ancient bridge. Mysterious and transcendent. On the crimson tide, no treasures could surpass it. As long as it appeared, it would be pulled into the crimson tide. Only the 10 divine weapons of the 10 immortal sects dared to cross the crimson tide. Now, the heavenly yin-yang bridge was crossing the crimson tide. This was simply inconceivable. How is this possible? What kind of bridge is that? Nothing can surpass the crimson tide. Even if it's on the bridge, it would be killed by the soldier spirits and pulled down by the crimson tide. Someone wants to seize the countless treasures in the crimson tide. Big move. This is big move. Who is it? Who is it that wants to make a move at this time? Looking at the posture of the ancient bridge, it must be something big. Just this ancient bridge alone was a rare treasure. It reminds me of a carnate spiritual treasure in the world, the Bridge of Helplessness. Could this be the legendary Bridge of Helplessness? So what if this ancient bridge can cross the void? Don't forget, there are thousands of soldier spirits in the crimson tide. Once the soldier spirits erupt, the ancient bridge will be destroyed in an instant. The appearance of the ancient bridge caused countless experts to be speechless. However, the ancient bridge would not collapse because of any expert. After crossing the red tide, an invisible force was emitted from the ancient bridge and fell to the bottom of the ancient bridge, causing the part of the red tide below the ancient bridge to become strangely calm. However, this was only limited to the area below the bridge. Once they crossed the bridge, the red tide would still become violent and terrifying. Demons, heed my command. Get on the ancient bridge and plunder the treasures. For legions, spread out your nets and search for treasures with all your might. Di broke through the void with a loud bang and stepped forward step by step. As he stepped on the void, it was as if he was stepping on a stairway to heaven. Circles of ripples appeared under his feet. His body emitted a brilliant glow as he stepped onto the ancient bridge. Wisps of demonic aura surged into the sky like smoke signals. A vast aura swept through the heavens. With Di cultivation method and the heavenly demon's strength, his battle strength and aura had reached an inestimable level. As he stood on the ancient bridge, it was as if he was standing at the center of heaven and earth, the center of all living things. A powerful aura spread out in all directions. Boom, boom, boom. Immediately after, millions of demons suddenly appeared in a corner of the abyss. These demons were all elites who had condensed their inner cores. The mirage dissipated and the demonic aura on their bodies soared into the sky, covering the sky. Demonic clouds rolled violently. The eyes of the group of demons looked at Sakura fervently. With an order, the 4 legions were the first to bear the brunt. The various commanders led their respective legions and rushed onto the ancient bridge. The ancient bridge was so huge that it did not take much effort to accommodate the demons. They whizzed up the ancient bridge and lined up in a good order. Inescapable nets. As the demons roared, for dense nets were thrown from the hands of the demons towards the red tide below the ancient bridge. The nets were snow-white and transparent. If one did not look carefully, one would not be able to see them at all. It was as if they did not exist. However, these 4 nets were rare treasures in the world. In order to get the treasures from the red tide, Tian Silkworm and Huang Quan had racked their brains, using countless treasures and all kinds of magical refining techniques. Especially the silk used to weave the net, which was the divine silkworm silk that Tian Silkworm had kept for countless years. It was incomparably tough, and with the addition of countless restrictions, formations, and a large number of materials. They spent a lot of effort to refine it with Huang Quan's holy water. They used the 9th heaven cloud essence, the star essence, and other materials to refine it. Each net was impervious to weapons, water, and fire. According to Sky Silkworm and Yellow Spring, once caught by this net, even an eternal overlord wouldn't be able to escape easily. They could only be bound obediently. The material of the net was extremely tough and had a magical ability to dissipate force. It could dissipate the force that fell on the net. It was almost impossible to destroy. It was specially made to prepare for the treasures in the red tide today. Only it could withstand the impact of countless precious treasures in the crimson tide without being damaged. Splash. This kind of net was called the inescapable net. There were 4 of them, 1 for each of the 4 armies. With a shout, the 4 inescapable nets were immediately thrown into the red tide. Pull. The net fell into the red tide, and in an instant, it straightened up. He quickly pulled the net up with all his strength. Splash. The big net broke out of the water. The muscles of the demons were constantly undulating like dragons as they desperately pulled the big net. In the net, a mountain of treasures was pulled out of the red tide. The treasures in the net were piled up higher than a small mountain. There were so many treasures that it was impossible to count. Good. Enter the Linglong Treasure Pagoda. Di saw a touch of joy in his eyes. Sure enough, he could get treasures. There were infinite treasures in the red tide. The net was like fishing for fish. Seeing this, a crisp sound was heard as the Linglong Treasure Pagoda appeared on the ancient bridge. It started to spin, and at the bottom of the pagoda, a pitch-black hole appeared, emitting a tyrannical suction force. It swept towards the treasures in the net, and all the treasures were sucked into the pagoda. In the pagoda, there were countless demons helping to carry the treasures. The red tide was originally composed of treasures. When the net fell, it was a mountain of gold and silver, and then it was constantly swallowed by the Linglong Treasure Pagoda. The endless light of the treasures dazzled the eyes of countless people. The 4 legions were using the inescapable net. The other 8 demon kings didn't have such treasures, but they were prepared. With the ancient bridge suppressing the crimson tide around the bridge was very calm, and didn't have any explosive power. The demon hordes used various methods to extract the treasures from the bridge. Although this kind of efficiency and speed couldn't be compared to the group of demons led by Sakra, but every time they got a piece of treasure, it was a fortune that they got for free. The demons crazily plundered the treasures in the red tide. Sakra stood on the ancient bridge. Although he looked calm, the amount of energy he consumed to suppress the scarlet tide was estimated by a massive amount every second. All kinds of spirit herbs in his hand were crazily stuffed into his mouth without any pity, constantly recovering his true power to support the ancient bridge. Kill, kill, kill. Suddenly, the red tide erupted into thousands of layers of waves. Countless soldier spirits were like bamboo shoots after the rain, emerging from the red tide. They looked coldly at the ancient bridge, and the killing intent on their bodies turned into the sharpest killing intent in an instant, sweeping towards the ancient bridge. Kill. A dazzling blood-red blade light blasted towards the ancient bridge. The ancient bridge shook, and countless cloud seals crazily emerged from the ancient bridge, blocking in front of the blade light, blocking the attack of the soldier spirits. Boom, boom, boom. The soldier spirits rushed up the ancient bridge like a tidal wave. Stepping on the snow-white body of the ancient bridge, the thick smell of blood engulfed heaven and earth. It was as if a bloody massacre was about to unfold in front of their eyes. There was no doubt that if these soldier souls really started a massacre on the ancient bridge, the snow-white bridge would immediately be dyed red with the blood of the demonic beasts. One had to know that the weakest soldier soul was comparable to a demonic monarch. The demonic beasts on the ancient bridge could be called elites, but in reality, they were only lesser demons that had condensed their inner cores. Once they rushed in and started a massacre, it would immediately cause a rain of blood and wind. Although tens of millions of demons were not a small number, in front of a massacre, they were all ants. However, since Di Shitian dared to bring them here, how could he not have thought of the situation before him? Looking at the endless stream of soldier souls rushing up the ancient bridge, there were countless yellow and mystic-grade soldier souls. There was no fear in his eyes. Instead, there was a hint of madness. Boom! He stomped hard on the ancient bridge. The heaven-connecting yin-yang bridge, suppressing the past and present, depriving the soldier spirits of their powers. Suppressing the universe. The heaven-connecting yin-yang bridge was the most domineering and terrifying ability. It could instantly seal and deprive all living beings that stepped on the ancient bridge of their powers. Suppressed. In the past, in the heavenly demon mystic realm, above the sacred river in Huangquan, all the cultivators and demons who stepped on the ancient bridge had their powers sealed. When they fought, they could only rely on various talismans, their physical bodies, and even battle techniques and weapons. They could not use any of their powers. This ability was simply overbearing and heaven-defying. Di Shitian could think of using the ancient bridge to carry tens of thousands of demons and plunder their treasures. Naturally, he also had the soldier spirits in mind. The soldier spirits were also living beings. Once they stepped on the ancient bridge and pushed the ancient bridge, they could suppress and seal the power of the soldier spirits. Once they were sealed, he naturally had thousands of ways to refine the soldier spirits. Boom, boom, boom. Countless mysterious cloud seals emerged from the ancient bridge like snowflakes. At the same time, a mysterious power filled the ancient bridge. It was profound and unfathomable. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 551. There was a power in the cloud seal that made one's divine soul tremble. The group of monsters felt that the demonic power in their bodies became difficult to circulate, as if it was going to stop and solidify. It was very strange. Fortunately, the cloud seal was under Di Shitian's control and did not fall towards them. Instead, it enveloped the countless soldier spirits like snowflakes. The cloud seal seemed real and illusory at the same time. It fell towards the soldier spirits as if it did not have a physical form. Every soldier spirit was born from slaughter and had the most instinctive killing nature in their bodies. However, they did not have rationality or true intelligence. They only knew how to attack living creatures. Although the cloud seal fell like snowflakes, they did not really block it. Even so, the soldier spirits were not something that ordinary things could get close to. However, as soon as the cloud seal landed on the soldier's soul, it melted like snowflakes in summer and entered the soldier's soul's body. Then, the strong murderous aura on the soldier's soul weakened and dissipated. That terrifying aura dissipated immediately. It was as if a strong man had turned into a weak scholar in an instant. Sealing technique. This is a sealing technique. When Ming saw this scene, he felt his heart tremble violently, and he couldn't help but cry out in disbelief. There's actually such a domineering sealing force on the heavenly yin-yang bridge? Could it be that Tian Silkworm knows a sealing technique? No, that's impossible. The sealing technique is very mysterious. Even in the ancient times, not many people were proficient in it. Only demon sealing cultivator back then was able to deduce the sealing technique to the extreme and become an unparalleled expert in one fell swoop. The rest were unable to achieve greater mastery. Ming activated his divine power and scanned the ancient bridge. His body suddenly trembled and he laughed in realization. Sealing stone, so it's the sealing stone. A large amount of sealing stone has been integrated into the ancient bridge. The sealing power in the ancient bridge is completely the power of the sealing stone. No wonder the ancient bridge has such strong power. It can suppress the past and the present and seal the soldier spirits. However, the sealing stone's power is not enough. It can only seal the yellow and Shen soldier spirits. It can barely seal the earth soldier spirits. Lunatic DI, you better be careful. The sealing stone was a piece of primal chaos origin that had fallen. It condensed the energy of heaven and earth, the essence of the sun and moon, and a myriad of energies. It was a beautiful crystal that was extremely rare in the world. It was said that the power of the sealing stone was enough to seal an ancient overlord. It was precisely because the ancient bridge was fused with the sealing stone that it had the miraculous power to suppress and seal all living things. As long as it was activated, all living beings standing on the ancient bridge would have their cultivation instantly sealed. This was also the reason why those who stepped onto the ancient bridge in the heavenly demon mystic realm had their cultivation bases sealed. Seal. Seal. At this moment, Sakra's ferocious aura was unparalleled. His demonic flames soared to the sky as he activated the ancient bridge. Waves of sealing force landed on the soldiers' souls. Those yellow and mystic ranked soldiers' souls had their cultivation sealed on the spot. A layer of terrifying ice crystals formed on their bodies, turning them into ice sculptures, immobilizing them. Swish. At the same time, the godly rays of the Linglong treasure pagoda swept across and sucked the sealed soldier souls into the pagoda. Kill. 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 Ming was right. The sealing power contained in the ancient bridge was enough to seal the yellow and Shen-ranked soldier souls, but it wasn't enough to deal with the earth-ranked soldier souls. An Earth-class soldier's soldier rushed onto the bridge with countless other soldiers' souls. The Earth-class soldier's instincts seemed to have sensed a strong threat. Waves of blood-red light emerged from its body, one wave after another. It actually managed to keep the cloud seals away from its body, preventing them from entering its body. If the seals didn't enter the soldier soul's body, they wouldn't be able to seal its own power. The earth-ranked soldier soul was worthy of its battle prowess that rivaled an ancient overlord. The blood-colored light on its body blocked the sealing power, and it was still able to free its hands to stab forward with its spear. TSK. TSK. A blood-colored spear aura burst out of the spear and blasted forward. It was almost unstoppable as it instantly pierced through all the demons in front of the spear aura. The moment it pierced through them, the domineering killing power even crushed the demon souls in their bodies. Their spirits were completely destroyed and they completely disappeared from this world. 100,000 demons were blasted into smithereens by a single spear strike. However, these demons weren't the soldiers of the four armies. They were the subordinates of the monster kings. Even so, the blood-colored light still lingered in the air and sprinkled on the ancient bridge, dyeing it red. The demons that were killed didn't even have time to scream. Extreme Emperor Imperial Seal, Celestial Demon Seal, Celestial Demons and Celestial Demons, suppress. Di Shitian took a step forward and formed a seal with his hands. In the Black Lotus, the divine ability talisman spewed out waves of mystical energy and formed an ancient celestial demon seal in his hand. With the support of the celestial demons and celestial demons, the celestial demon seal quickly grew to the size of a millstone and pressed down on the spear-wielding earth-ranked soldier soul. Kill. The soldier soul swung its spear at the ancient seal. Bang! The ancient seal's spear exploded with a shockwave, creating a terrifying hurricane in the surroundings. Countless chi turned into sharp blades, slashing out chaotically in all directions. Even the void was cut into terrifying cracks. The sealing power of the ancient bridge and the ferocious celestial demon seal combined. The earth-ranked soldier soul was suppressed to the point that it couldn't move. Heavenly punishment, divine eye, annihilation. From the divine eye of heaven's punishment, a purple light flashed through the void like lightning and hit the soldier's soul. Under several attacks, the earth-level soldier's soul, which was comparable to an ancient giant, had a terrible hole in its chest. The most amazing thing was that as the annihilation divine light penetrated the soldier's soul, the sealing power of the ancient bridge turned into countless cloud seals and rushed into the soldier's soul. Boom! The cloud seal turned into countless chains that wrapped around the earthly rank soul soldier's body, binding it tightly. The sealing power was continuously poured into the earthly rank soul soldier's body. Every bit that entered the earthly rank soul soldier's body, the sealing power grew stronger, causing the earthly rank soul soldier's strength to continuously decrease. Coupled with the suppression of the celestial demon seal on top of its head. The sealing power of the ancient bridge and the bombardment of the heavenly punishment divine eye. All kinds of unparalleled superpowers were added to the soldier soul's body. In an instant, a layer of crystal-like ice was spreading rapidly from its feet to the rest of its body. Although it was blocked by the killing power, it couldn't stop the sealing power of the ancient bridge. Crash. Finally, after a few breaths, the ice completely covered the soldier soul's body. It was completely sealed in the ice, but it couldn't kill anymore. Sealed. An earth-ranked soldier soul that rivaled an ancient overlord was actually sealed by Di Shitian. For a moment, the people who witnessed this scene felt as if everything in front of them wasn't real. An earth-ranked soldier soul that rivaled an ancient overlord was actually sealed. Oh my God, this is impossible. What kind of treasure is that ancient bridge? How could it have such terrifying power? A heavenly demon, what a terrifying heavenly demon. Any attack that it casually throws out is an unparalleled superpower. Its godly power is unparalleled. The demon clan is going to rise again. Who the F***CK dares to say that the demon clan doesn't have any experts? Where did this heavenly demon come from? Sure enough, a centipede dies but never falls down. The demon clan still has a strong foundation. I heard that the demon clan had already declined on the source mainland. They were forced to the brink of extinction by the human clan. Now it seems that the rumors aren't true. When the day comes, I should pay a visit to this former overlord. In ancient times, the demon clan produced the most peerless experts. They were buried in the blood altar and slumbered in the river of time. Once they wake up and break the blood altar, they will return to the mainland. The demon clan will definitely rise again. It wasn't just the human clan that was hidden in the void. There were also experts from the 100 races. When they saw the sealed earth-ranked soldier soul, strange thoughts flashed through their minds. They had a new impression of the demon clan. No one would ever think of the demon clan as a declining race again. Haha. Good seal. If such an earth-ranked soldier soul was refined into a puppet, it would be the most powerful killer scissors. Quick, quick, quick. The time it took for an incense stick to burn had already passed by quite a bit. There isn't much time. I have to take advantage of this opportunity to get the most out of it. Dark was so excited that even the blood in his body was about to boil. The sealing power of the heaven-piercing yin-yang bridge, the domineering power of the extreme monarch imperial seal, and the power of the Eye of Heaven's punishment really suppressed the earth-ranked soldier soul. When this reality appeared in front of Di Shitian, even he was overjoyed. Good. Soldier souls are soldier souls. They only have murderous intent in their bodies. They don't have true intelligence. Although their combat power is unparalleled, on the ancient bridge, this is my battlefield. I have the advantage of time, place, and people. Even if it's an earth-ranked soldier soul, I still have to seal it. His eyes flashed with wisdom. In the blink of an eye, he understood why he could seal an earth-ranked soldier soul. It was because, apart from the heaven-ranked soldier souls, the other soldier souls only had the murderous intent. Without intelligence, no matter how strong they were, there was still a chance to seal them. Boom, boom, boom. The number of soldier souls was too large. They were like an ocean, densely packed and surging toward the ancient bridge. Not only did they rush up the ancient bridge, but they also launched attacks at the ancient bridge. It was as if they wanted to completely destroy the ancient bridge and turn it into dust. At almost every moment, the ancient bridge was enduring countless overbearing attacks filled with murderous intent. The divine light on the ancient bridge surged and shook violently. Countless cloud seals collapsed under the attacks. The ancient bridge looked as if it was going to collapse in an instant. Even the divine light was rapidly dimming at a speed visible to the naked eye. Quick, quick, quick. It was an inescapable net. Hurry up and search for the treasures. Don't waste our king's effort. Everyone, give it your all. For the king, for the demon city. Even if we have to risk our lives, we have to get a few more treasures. The demon race is going to rise. How can we be enslaved by other races? On the ancient bridge, all the demon race's eyes were red. They ignored the soldier souls that were rushing up the ancient bridge. They gritted their teeth and used all their strength to seize the treasures. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 552. Looking at the dense and murderous soldiers outside the ancient bridge, their casual attacks could cause the heaven and earth Yuan Qi to collapse and the void to collapse. It was clear that Di Shitian was under immense pressure to let them snatch the treasures. At present, it was Di Shitian who was supporting the safety of all the demon race. Just this point alone was enough to make them go all out to retrieve the treasures from the Crimson Tide. Into the Linglong treasure pagoda. Every second, every minute, every second, was calculated in terms of billions of treasures. Just one incense stick's worth of time. They would rather die than waste it. Ultimate Emperor Seal. Indra once again condensed a seal in his hand, forming the seal of the monarch seal. Instantly, an aura of a supreme monarch swept out in all directions. From top to bottom, the aura of a monarch filled every inch of his body, bursting forth with a shocking might. In the surroundings, countless purple lights flickered, making him look incomparably noble. Rumble. The monarch seal was originally evolved from the wrath of the monarch. The power of desire gushed out from the void, representing the wrath of the monarch. Together with the power of the monarch, it quickly gathered in his hand and turned into a simple and sparkling jade seal. In the jade seal, there was an emperor that looked exactly like Sakura. Around him, dragons were soaring and tigers were leaping. The aura of an emperor was so condensed that it seemed to be solid, pressing down on the entire world. When the imperial jade seal was condensed, the imperial jade seal that was originally in front of him suddenly collapsed like the fiend god seal before, disintegrating into millions of mysterious talismans that rushed into his body in a single line. Following the demonic veins, they rushed into the black lotus in the demonic abode. For a moment, the black lotus that seemed to split the heavens and earth appeared once again. Countless talismans magically gathered together, forming a new divine talisman. On this talisman, the figure of an emperor appeared. Holding the jade seal in his hand, he suppressed the heavens and earth, and countless living beings bowed at his feet. A mysterious aura was emitted from the talisman. Inside, there was the aura of an emperor. Emperor Talisman Amulet. In Di Shitian's body, a second talisman was condensed. Relying on his current strength as a heavenly demon, he broke through all the shackles and broke through the origin. Another unparalleled supreme art was completed. His previous understanding of the Emperor's Tao and the power of wrath flowed into the talisman like flowing water. With this talisman, he could use the Emperor's seal of the Extreme King's imperial seal at will. He could even use the Emperor's wrath of the way of the Extreme King. With the same origin, they condensed into an origin divine ability talisman. Rumble. The monarch seal, which had disappeared, appeared before him once more. Flying out of the ancient bridge, he soared into the sky and suppressed the void. His majestic aura of an emperor spread out in all directions like a tidal wave. Beneath the imperial jade seal, the 8 ancient seals flickered with a noble divine light, receiving the mandate of heaven, eternal prosperity. Purple light flowed on the ancient seal. Grand light spread throughout the world. Under the imperial jade seal, with the ancient bridge as the center, within a radius of 1,000 feet, the entire void seemed to be locked down and isolated. All living beings within this area were suppressed by the majestic aura of the ancient seal, unable to move. It was as if there were countless terrifying mountains pressing down on their bodies. It was like in ancient times, when the commoners met the emperor. They were so frightened that they did not dare to move. It was as if they moved, they would immediately attract endless calamity. Under the emperor's seal, those who disobey will be killed. 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 Di Shitian pointed at the ancient seal and spat out a sentence with a formless pressure. Boom. The ancient seal suddenly pressed down. Suddenly, the void under the ancient seal seemed to be pressed down as well. This pressure caused the entire void to collapse into countless fragments. The explosive power turned into sharp blades that could cut through the void. On the spot, a large number of yellow-grade soldier souls were crushed into dust. Heaven and earth collapsed. The ancient seal and the ancient bridge worked together, erupting with shocking power. It suppressed this part of the void. The attacks of countless soldier souls were imprisoned in this part of the void as soon as they entered this area. They could not break through this area. It was as if this place had completely turned into another world. It was like a domain. It was vast and invincible. Any attack would be suppressed as soon as it came in. Boom. Boom. Countless rays of bloodlight shot into the sky. They were extremely sharp. But they were all blocked outside the ancient bridge. When the soldier souls rushed in, they were not stopped. Instead, they were allowed to rush onto the ancient bridge. Then, the ancient bridge's sealing power suppressed the soldier souls. Among them, there were 18 Earth-grade soldier souls that rushed onto the ancient bridge. However, they were all suppressed by Di Shitian's various divine abilities. He plundered the soldier souls into the exquisite pagoda as if they were precious treasures. The ferocious power was so strong that it shocked countless experts in the void. Originally, those experts who were spying in the dark were waiting for Di Shitian and the Crimson Tide to fight each other to the bitter end. Then, they would come out to take advantage of the situation and seize countless treasures. However, when they saw that he could suppress and seal the Earth-grade soldier souls, they thought that he was invincible. They immediately extinguished the thoughts in their minds. What a joke! Rushing up to fight with this monster. Did they want to die? The Earth-grade soldier souls were comparable to ancient giants, but they were suppressed and sealed one after another. It was too terrifying. When he thought of the consequences if he rushed out, he felt a chill in his mind. He quickly hid his inner world even deeper and retracted his head completely into the tortoise shell, so as to avoid any unexpected calamities. Then, they would be greatly wronged. Kill. Kill. There was only killing in the eyes of the soldier souls. They never had the slightest fear. Even if there was a mountain of swords and a sea of fire in front of them, they still rushed forward without hesitation. Despite the boundless might of the ancient seal and ancient bridge, in front of this overwhelming attack, they were still like fireflies. The ancient seal trembled violently, and the divine light on it dimmed rapidly. With a cracking sound, tiny cracks actually appeared on it, as if it could shatter at any moment. The Earth-grade soldier souls had terrifying offensive power. It was too domineering. Every blade could cut through the void. Extreme Emperor Seal, Celestial Demon Seal. The Celestial Demon Seal condensed in front of him and rushed into the void with the power of countless celestial demons, suppressing the surroundings. Countless celestial demons rushed out of the ancient seal and stood in front of the ancient bridge, blocking the attacks of the soldier souls. However, those godfiends were also being blasted to smithereens at a speed visible to the naked eye under the barrage of attacks. Divine Eye of Punishment, 5-colored divine light. 4 divine lights formed a fan shape and swept across the void. They shattered one attack after another. Di Shitian's expression was grim. He used almost everything he had to block the soldier soul's attacks. His own divine abilities were shattered again and again by the soldier souls. He didn't know when, but his face had turned a little pale. The chi and blood in his body churned like waves of surging waves, roaring and bellowing. He endured countless terrifying attacks. Even a peerless expert would have to turn and run in front of the sea of soldier souls. And yet, Di Shitian stood in front of it and faced it head-on. His boldness and ferocity were shocking. However, he had to pay a heavy price. If he couldn't hold on and the ancient bridge was destroyed, the countless attacks would immediately blast him to smithereens. A third of an incense stick's time. Di Shitian's face was as white as a piece of flawless white paper. Wei Yan's body was trembling. The ancient seal was shattered, and countless attacks blasted toward the ancient bridge. Half an incense stick's time. Di Shitian spat out mouthfuls of blood. His body seemed to be struck by lightning, and the light on the ancient bridge dimmed. Time felt as long as a year. Under the continuous attacks of the soldier soul, even with Sakra's current strength as a heavenly demon, he was still heavily injured. His body had suffered a huge injury. The demons were desperately trying to steal treasures from the Crimson Tide, racing against time. In the blink of an eye, less than a fifth of the incense stick's time was left. Sakra, however, was already on the verge of collapse, as if he was about to fall from grace. He looked like he was at the end of his rope. The light on the ancient bridge was so dim that it was almost impossible to see. It seemed like there were countless small cracks on the bridge. People couldn't help but worry that the ancient bridge would collapse in an instant. Rumble. At this moment, the Crimson Tide rolled up a stormy wave. The tide soared into the sky, as if millions of tons of explosives were thrown into the tide in an instant. At the same time, countless ancient and mysterious halos rippled in all directions. In the mysterious halos, countless souls were praying, countless voids flashed, and surges of faith poured into the halos. One ring after another. There were a total of 9 halos circulating in an endless cycle. It was as if the halos contained the truth of eternity and the mystery of reincarnation. Shrouded in the halos was the divine weapon of the supreme mystery sect of the 10 great immortal sects, the Kingdom of Eternity. At this moment, the Kingdom of Eternity was many times more powerful than before. The sudden appearance of the 9 halos was even more mysterious, and people couldn't help but want to throw themselves into it. The halos exuded an aura of eternity. It was as if as long as you entered, you could obtain eternity and become immortal. Under eternity, betrayers can become immortal. Disobedience will destroy both your soul and body. The Kingdom of Eternity. The Kingdom of Eternity, which was originally blasted into the Crimson Tide by the heaven-rank soldier soul, rushed out at this time. On the surface, there was no sign of damage. The 9 divine lights outside were like immortal halos, protecting the kingdom valiantly. A voice like a prayer spread from the mouths of the countless people praying in the 9 halos. It was like the heavenly Tao. Suddenly, the huge Kingdom of Eternity, with the halos, directly hit the ancient bridge. This collision was like the collapse of heaven and earth, the collapse of the void, the fall of the sun and the moon. The whole world seemed to have completely lost its sound at this moment. The roar suppressed the Crimson Tide. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. I support the author, and I support the original readers. Chapter 553. Eternal Kingdom. This was the first time it had displayed its heaven-suppressing power. The power it unleashed suppressed the crimson tide in an instant. Countless soldier spirits were as small as ants in front of it. The 9 halos formed by the eternal light revolved around each other like an eternal and undying supreme kingdom that was above the heavens. Its power descended to the heavens in order to shatter the heavens and earth. The eternal kingdom smashed against the heaven-piercing yin-yang bridge with unparalleled power. It was as if it had turned into an eternal demon god, issuing a judgment to the heavens. Under the eternal kingdom, the space collapsed and the essence of the world went berserk, rampaging wildly. It was so overbearing that even the expressions of the ancient giants changed drastically. In the void, countless experts' hearts were in their throats. They knew that the top 10 immortal sects wouldn't leave so easily. Sure enough, they chose to go all out against the ferocious demon of the demon race. The eternal kingdom is indeed overbearing. It deserves to be called the #1 divine weapon in the heavens. Each of the 9 eternal lights has the terrifying power to crush the ancient giants. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. The older, the wiser. TSK, the human clan and the demon clan have always been at odds. The 10 immortal sects are the top representatives of the human clan. How could they watch the demon clan plunder the treasures without doing anything and give the demon clan a chance to rise? No matter how strong the heavenly demon is, he will be suppressed. He will be smashed to smithereens. It's not easy for the demon clan to produce a heavenly demon. I'm afraid he will fall at this moment. The human clan's foundation is astonishing. After all, they have been the main characters of the heavens and earth for countless years. Who knows how many treasures they have plundered from the source mainland? For a moment, there were countless guesses in the void. However, the same thing was that almost no one was optimistic about Di Shetian. After all, Di Shetian's appearance had already reached a limit. His face was as pale as paper, and his body was on the verge of collapsing. He looked like he was at the end of his rope and could fall at any time. At this time, it was simply a fool's dream to contend with the eternal kingdom. However, right at this moment, Di Shetian's body suddenly emitted a shocking demonic aura, which surged up into the clouds like smoke signals. The black robe on his body fluttered even though there was no wind, and the black hair on the back of his head danced wildly. Boom, boom, boom. Di Shetian's body was expanding rapidly. His majestic aura shook the void and distorted the space around him. 100 feet, 2,000 feet. In the blink of an eye, it swelled to a terrifying height of 3,000 feet. With a flash of light in his hand, a dark green life source seed fell into his mouth. It instantly turned into a huge amount of pure and extremely gentle essence chi, pouring into his flesh and blood. It poured into the Black Lotus in the Yarrow Palace, causing the already exhausted royal extreme true force in his body to recover at an incredible speed. The essence chi in the seed of life was unceasing, turning into rolling waves. It made the dispirited Sakra radiate with endless divine light. The power in his body was endless. His muscles were like dragons shuttling back and forth, surging unceasingly. Innate divine ability of the demon folk, heavenly laws embodiment of heaven and earth. The 3,000 feet tall demonic body stood on the ancient bridge like an ancient giant. A thick aura was emitted from the countless pores on its body, causing the surrounding space to crumble under the pressure. An ancient aura gushed out from Sakra's body, shaking the entire space. Sakra's aura was boundless, as though he was an emperor descending upon the world. He was incomparably tyrannical. His eyes were cold as he spoke, from each eternal country and the 10 great immortal sects. This seat has long been waiting for you guys. You want to act like the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind? You must be blind. Do you really think I've run out of energy? Do you really think I'm at the end of my rope? All of this is just a facade I used to lure you out. Trampling the 8 desolations, Di Shetian's eyes flickered with a blazing divine light that was incomparably dazzling. The radiance seemed to have pierced through the surrounding void. Boom, boom, boom. Di Shetian's huge demon body moved and stepped forward. When he stepped out, the true power in his body revolved in a mysterious trajectory. Every time he took a step, the aura on his body would instantly rise by a notch, increasing by multiple folds. With every step he took, the void beneath his feet would shatter into countless pieces. The heaven and earth yuan qi would surge. He took 6 steps forward. A pitch-black demonic flame surged out from Sakra's body, burning the void outside his body until it collapsed. Endless majesty roared out. With his cultivation base, he stepped into the peak of the heavenly demon realm when he took the 6th step. He was only inches away from becoming a peerless expert. He could feel that as long as he was willing, the world in front of him would be annihilated by his tiger roar. With just a palm, he could shatter the void. Extreme Royal Emperor Seal, Demonic God Seal. Extreme Royal Emperor Seal, Monarch Seal. 2 of the most domineering mystiques appeared in his hands. In the void, 2 mysterious ancient seals as vast as stars appeared. One was a demonic god, and the other was a domineering monarch. They attacked the kingdom of eternity without holding back. God, the heavenly demon, is not injured. He's just faking it. He's trying to lure the 10 immortal sects out. Is he trying to deal with the 10 immortal sects? How can he fight against the strongest force of the human race alone? Indeed, this heavenly demon is not simple. He is really scheming. No, he is really scheming. Originally, the 10 major immortal sects were hiding in the dark, waiting for him to exhaust his strength before coming out to pick the fruits of his labor. Obviously, he has already anticipated this situation. Therefore, he is simply going with the flow. First, he lured this threat out, and then the invisible threat will disappear. On the other hand, while I still have my combat strength, I might be able to put up a fight or even escape. A battle between the heavenly demon and the 10 immortal sects. Although I didn't manage to obtain many treasures on this trip, just watching this battle is enough to make everything worth it. Who knows, I might be able to gain new insights from their battle and advance further, breaking through my bottleneck. This scene caused the spies in the dark to become excited. Rumble. The Kingdom of Eternity didn't expect Di Shitian to have such a trick up his sleeve. They didn't find the best time to pick up the peaches, but instead, they ended up in such a situation. However, even so, the Supreme Mystery Sect didn't panic at all. Since they couldn't be the Oriole, they would suppress them head-on. The 9 rays of eternal light around the Kingdom of Eternity rolled over. It collided with the Celestial Demon Seal and the Emperor Seal. The power of the Celestial Demon Seal and the Emperor Seal roared out, trying to suppress the Kingdom of Eternity. But on the Kingdom of Eternity, rings of eternal light burst out with amazing power. In the rings, countless living beings were praying, with the aura of eternal immortality. Eternity is immortality. Under eternity, time will no longer pass, and time will no longer be traceless. Under eternity, all things will die. In the eternal light, a prayer that contained the true meaning of eternity sounded. Millions of rays of divine light spread out like the sun, covering the sky and covering the earth. Under this eternal light, the Celestial Demon Seal and the Emperor Seal both stopped in front of the divine light. No, they didn't stop. It was just that when they moved, they became incomparably slow. It was as if the surrounding space had turned into eternity, never changing. Even the vacuum was blocked by a strange power. Here, time didn't flow, and space didn't move. Even the power of heaven and earth stopped, as if they had really entered eternity. Bang! The Kingdom of Eternity collided with the 2 ancient seals. Countless small cracks appeared on the ancient seals, and they suddenly collapsed. The 2 ancient seals that were enough to kill the ancient giants couldn't even do any damage to the Kingdom of Eternity. They were shattered by the eternal power on the spot. That scene stunned countless experts who were watching. They were completely shocked by the strength of the Kingdom of Eternity. It was no wonder. After all, it was regarded as a divine tool by the 10 great immortal sects. It was a supreme treasure of the sect. How could it be an ordinary treasure? Although the ancient giants were powerful, even the strongest ancient giants in the world couldn't move this divine tool. Under the eternal light, everything became unchanging, and the imprisonment couldn't be broken. It would be easily crushed. Extreme Monarch Emperor Wei, Death of the Celestial Demon, Di Shitian suddenly took another step forward. The 7th step of the 8 Desolates step. The moment he took the step, the void within a radius of 1,000 feet was destroyed inch by inch. When it collapsed, countless violent forces broke through the void and surged into his body. His body expanded again, and he instantly became a 10,000 feet tall demon god. From his body, a force that was many times stronger than a heavenly demon's erupted. Demon god. One step was mortal, and the next step was divine. The seventh step allowed him to break through the heavenly demon's barrier. He rushed into the demon god realm in an instant. However, the originally gentle force in his body instantly became violent. When this force was circulating, it was an unimaginable pressure on the demon body. After all, Di Shitian's true cultivation was only a demon king with a demon core fourth transformation. His demon body couldn't withstand that violent force. It was almost as if the violent force would completely crush him in the next second. With a bang, he exploded. Clang! With a twist of his wrist, the tiger soul came out of its sheath. The golden saber light of the tiger soul burst out in waves and turned into a terrifying saber that was 10,000 feet long. A golden divine tiger roared at the sky from the saber. The might of a king surged through the heavens. In his body, countless violent forces surged into the tiger soul. Rumble. The void distorted, and countless forces of desire surged out like a tide, covering heaven and earth as they rushed into the tiger soul. Roar. From the tiger soul, every strand of saber aura that was emitted cut the surrounding space open again and again. One strike. Di Shitian only had the strength for one strike. At this moment, the power of a demon god was indeed unprecedentedly strong. However, even if it was strong, there was still no time for him to feel the difference between a demon god and a heavenly demon. His demon body couldn't withstand it. On the surface of his body, countless amounts of blood were continuously flowing out from his pores. It was quite terrifying. Chapter 554. Although the power of a demon god was strong, the price he had to pay for this temporary power was immeasurable. While the violent power gave him unparalleled strength, it also damaged his demon body at the same time. It was as if a 3-year-old child was holding a divine weapon that could cut gold and break jade. Usually, when he hurt others, he would inevitably be hurt as well. This was a double-edged sword. If it wasn't for the fact that Sakura had entered the realm of desire one after another, his realm was far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Coupled with the fact that his physical body was strong, the royal true force was extraordinary in tempering his demon body, and the 9 royal true acupoints were opened in every demon vein, along with countless small branches and meridians. The tempering of his physical body had an extraordinary magical effect. He was far stronger than demon clan members of the same cultivation level. His body was also protected by the endless essence from the source of life. It protected his body and healed the damage in his body. That was why he was able to protect his body from instantly collapsing and turning into dust while possessing the unparalleled strength of a demon god. Even so, the power of a demon god was not something that he could control at the moment. One attack. He only had one chance to attack and completely vent the violent power in his body. This attack was the limit of what he could do now. Clang. At this moment, the 100,000 feet long tiger soul emitted waves of vibrating sounds. Deep and tyrannical tiger roars continuously sounded from the blade. The entire body was enveloped by the golden blade light. The green pearl embedded between the blade and the hilt seemed to have turned into a black hole in an instant under the infusion of endless power. It devoured all the primordial chi in the surrounding area. It turned into the power of the tiger soul. In the red tide, there were streaks of pure blood-red light that surged into the green pearl like a tide. The tiger soul seemed to have completely come alive in an instant. It used the terrifying power of Di Shitian as a demon god to forcibly plunder the countless soldier souls and steal the pure blood-red energy from them. It was forcibly devouring the soldier souls' divine souls. In an instant, the tiger soul was surrounded by a blood-red wave. Boom! 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 The blade of the tiger soul trembled violently. Within the blade, the waves of tiger roars became more and more concentrated. The divine light was resplendent, and the fishbone-like blade markings began to fluctuate violently. It was as if an incredible life was being nurtured within the saber. The green bead continuously devoured the power of the slaughtering souls and poured it into the green bead, turning it into the tiger soul's own power. The power of slaughtering was carrying out a mysterious cleansing and tempering of the tiger soul. The countless rays of blood-red light were like a ball of blood-red flames. The tiger soul was being reborn in this ball of flames. Tiger soul was a mid-grade Dharma artifact. That was not the case. The strength of a divine weapon was further divided into different categories: heaven, earth, black, and yellow. Among them, the yellow rank actually corresponded to weapons at the magic tool level. The profound rank corresponded to weapons at the magic treasure level. The earth rank surpassed the magic treasure level and became acquired spirit treasures. Generally, it was called a treasure weapon. This type of earth rank divine weapon was mostly obtained by ancient powerhouses. As for heaven rank, they were supreme treasures that even peerless powerhouses yearned for even in their dreams. They might not be able to obtain it even if they wanted it. The tiger soul could be said to be a mid-grade mystic rank demon weapon. At this moment, it actually borrowed the power of the demon god to allow the green bead formed by the soul-devouring stone to explode with unbelievable power. It even dared to seize the power of the weapon soul's spirit. The purpose of a weapon was to kill. No matter what kind of weapon it was, there was no such thing as a ruler or a benevolent weapon. From the moment a weapon was born, its fate was to exist for the sake of killing. The weapon soul was a life that was nurtured by slaughtering. It was formed by gathering the power of slaughtering from countless weapons. At this moment, once it was devoured by the tiger soul, it was like dry wood meeting fire. With a bang, it was completely ignited. Roar. A tiger's roar that was filled with dominance and endless murderous aura suddenly erupted from the tiger soul. The green bead on the tiger soul emitted a strong devouring power in the blink of an eye, swallowing all the surrounding power of slaughtering souls. The green bead instantly turned into a blood bead. At the same time, blood-red light from the blood bead quickly seeped into the tiger soul's blade. The speed was extremely fast. In almost the blink of an eye, it covered every inch of the blade. At the same time, the blood-red light quickly gathered at the center of the blade. Amidst the earth-shattering tiger's roar, a completely black tiger with a pair of wings on its back could be seen. On its forehead, the blood-red royal mark was constantly emitting a murderous light. It coldly looked in all directions. The figure of this black tiger was not real. It was only faintly discernible, between illusion and reality. The moment it appeared, the entire world seemed to have lost its voice and became silent. It was as if all the light in the world had gathered on its body at this moment. Weapon soul? No, it's the weapon soul. This blade actually condensed a weapon soul. How is this possible? A weapon soul is an uncrossable gap between a mystic rank divine weapon and an earth rank divine weapon. It hasn't completely condensed yet. Its body is illusory, but it still has a physical body. The barrier between the mystic rank and earth rank no longer obstructs it. It's an earth rank divine weapon. That's a treasure that even the ancient giants yearn for. Seeing the figure condensed from the blade, countless people were alarmed once again. One had to know that there was an uncrossable gap between every rank of divine weapon. For example, yellow rank divine weapons did not have any spirituality. At most, they were slightly stronger and had some mysterious abilities. The most common ones were mystic rank divine weapons. Divine weapons of this level were not ordinary. They would nurture spirituality. Divine weapons with spirituality were mystic rank divine weapons. As for earth rank divine weapons, they needed to nurture a weapon soul in the weapon. It belonged to the weapon soul. As for heaven rank divine weapons, they were even more mysterious. Originally, Tiger Soul only possessed spirituality and was a mystic rank demonic weapon. At this moment, the spirituality in the blade gave birth to the figure of the black tiger. Although it did not truly condense a physical body, it caused the barrier between the mystic rank and earth rank demonic weapon to disappear instantly. Tiger Soul also instantly advanced to a peak mystic rank demonic weapon. It was only a short distance away from earth rank. The advancement of Tiger Soul caused the blade of Tiger Soul to become even sharper. The golden-colored blade light flowed like waves. All of this took a long time to describe, but in reality, it happened in the blink of an eye. Di Shitian stood in the air. A light flashed on his face, and a purple-gold mask that covered half of his face appeared on his face. A mysterious power flowed into his body from the ultimate emperor mask, temporarily suppressing the violent power in his body, making it slightly gentler. His eyes slowly closed. In his mind, waves of comprehension suddenly flowed past like water: the power of desire, the source of evil, the 7 emotions and 6 desires, the nature of living beings. Sadness, the tears of the heart; joy, the joy of oneself; anger, burning all things; taste, the desire to eat, devouring all things; understanding the true meaning of sour, sweet, bitter, spicy. There is nothing that cannot be devoured. Daotai, the dragon, had 9 sons. The 5th son of the dragon had the body of a goat. Its eyes were under its armpits. It had tiger teeth and human claws. It had a big head and a big mouth. It was extremely gluttonous. It ate whatever it saw. It could devour all things in the world. In an instant, his comprehension of the 7 emotions and 6 desires flowed like a clear spring in his heart. In his heart, the countless cultivation techniques that he knew also appeared continuously in an instant. At this moment, under the supreme height of the monster god, he continuously extracted the essence and got rid of the impurities, using the comprehension of the power of desire as the source. He madly deduced. This kind of deduction was carried out smoothly. Di Shitian broke through to the 4th transformation of the monster pill. During this time, he had gone through the test of the 4 states of desire. The state of sadness, the state of joy, the state of anger, and the state of taste. His comprehension of these 4 states of desire had already reached an unprecedented level. At this moment, using the opportunity of the monster god to see through the essence of power, everything went smoothly like never before. Similarly, the comprehension of the state of joy and desire also flashed in his mind. Di Shitian wanted to use this rare opportunity to completely deduce what he had not been able to do in the past. With his wisdom, this kind of deduction flashed by almost in the blink of an eye. Roars flashed in the Black Lotus. Countless talismans danced in the air, devouring the power of desire and all kinds of mysterious power. Suddenly, 2 magical talismans were condensed in the Black Lotus. Each of them exuded a supreme power that seemed to suppress the ancient times. In one of the newly formed talismans, a ferocious Daotai appeared on it. It opened its bloody mouth and wanted to swallow the whole world. Boom, boom, boom. The closed eyes opened in an instant. At the moment of opening, 2 beams of light pierced into the void in front of him, penetrating the void and annihilating it inch by inch. His vast aura continued to rise endlessly. Bang, bang, bang. His feet began to move. His steps were strange but carried a mysterious Tao rhyme, causing the essence of heaven and earth to gather around him. It was as if his whole body was madly absorbing the power of heaven and earth around him in an instant. The tiger soul in his hand danced and streaked across the void. It drew out countless mysterious trajectories. The eternal light flashed in the eternal kingdom. Suddenly, strange divine thunder that looked like crystals and carried an eternal aura quickly appeared. And in an instant, it was thrown out towards Sakra, rumbling over. Eternal divine thunder. No matter how powerful an expert was, if they were struck by the divine lightning formed by the eternal power, they would suffer an unimaginably terrible injury. Not only did it have a domineering offensive power, but it also had the most bizarre eternal power erupting. It could directly cause people to fall into the imprisonment of the eternal power under the attack of the divine thunder. Under the eternal divine thunder that blotted out the sky and earth. Di Shitian's expression was aloof and arrogant. He shouted, "Ultimate Emperor Dao, devour of the Daotai." The mighty power that belonged to the demon god completely surged into the tiger soul. With an indomitable aura, the saber faced the eternal divine thunder and brazenly slashed out. The most powerful attack was completely unleash. It's going to be March soon. Brothers, the horn of war has been blown. Our goal this month is the monthly ticket ranking. Charge up the monthly ticket ranking. Let's fight together. This time, I'm going all out. I'm going all out. I'm going all out. For every 10 monthly tickets, I'll add one more chapter. Tomorrow, I'll release at least 3 chapters. As for whether my outburst can continue, please use your monthly tickets to make my blood boil. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidien.com. There are more chapters. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 555. The dazzling saber light broke through the restrictions of the void. Waves after waves of terrifying devouring power crazily surged out from the tiger soul without any reservation. The talisman amulet with the Taotia's image in the Black Lotus was called the Daotai Talisman Amulet. A strange force surged into the saber from the Daotai Talisman Amulet. The saber light slashed out in a strange trajectory. Crack. The void was split into 2. A mighty force burst out from the tiger soul. Countless saber lights shot out and gathered above the saber. The mighty force destroyed the surrounding void inch by inch, turning it into countless tiny fragments. A ferocious beast that was at least 10,000 feet tall appeared. It had the body of a sheep and its eyes were under its armpits. The claws under its body were similar to that of a human, or rather, the claws of an ape. The teeth in its mouth were unusually ferocious, like the crimson of a tiger. The most shocking thing was that this ferocious beast had a terrifying head that was many times larger than its body. The gigantic head was at least 10,000 feet tall. It was entrenched in the void, and its body naturally exuded a majestic dragon aura that was superior to all living things. Daotai. This was one of the 9 sons of the dragon, the Daotai. In this blade, the supreme power that erupted from Di Shitian was condensed out. Whoosh! Daotai was entrenched in the void, and the eyes under its body slowly opened. It glanced at the countless eternal divine lightning that was bombarding it, and even the supreme divine weapon that suppressed the heavens, the kingdom of eternity. There was a look of excitement in its eyes, as if it had found something that it liked. That frighteningly large head swayed, and its mouth suddenly opened in an exaggerated manner. Once the mouth opened, it was at least 10,000 feet long. The entire mouth was like a dark hole, deep and terrifying. It covered the sky above the kingdom of eternity and sucked hard. Boom, boom, boom. This sucking was like the end of the world, and the whole world suddenly became dark. It was as if they had entered the night in an instant. In the void, a hurricane rose from the ground, howling as it rushed into the terrifying mouth. For a moment, an endless devouring power was emitted from Taotia's mouth like a tide. This kind of devouring power drew the red tide directly into the Taotia's mouth. These tides were instantly sent into the exquisite pagoda. That tyrannical and terrifying eternal divine thunder was originally blasting towards Sakra, but under Taotia's big mouth, it reversed its direction and was pulled into that terrifying big mouth that was like a bottomless pit. Taotia's mouth directly turned into a terrifying black hole with a diameter of 20,000 feet. The black hole was so deep that even the void was constantly twisting and collapsing. Before the eternal divine thunder could reach Di Shitian, it was swallowed into Taotia's stomach. Almost nothing could stop Taotia's stomach. As soon as they entered, they would either be digested instantly or imprisoned. There was no way Di Shitian would let go of the eternal holy lightning, which was an attack launched by the kingdom of eternity. He sealed it and sent it into the Linglong treasure pagoda. In just a short while, he had obtained 100,000 divine thunders. Daotai, swallow, swallow, devour, devouring heaven and earth. Swallow the kingdom of eternity. Di Shitian's heart was cold as he roared. With a wave of tiger soul, the Taotia's mouth appeared in the sky above the kingdom of eternity. The terrifying devouring power of the black hole shook the kingdom of eternity and swallowed it in one gulp. It was as if the Daotai had bitten off a huge chunk of heaven and earth. The Daotai had swallowed the kingdom of eternity. Crash. At this time, another loud roar came from the red tide. A cyan lotus throne suddenly emerged from the red tide and spun rapidly. The green sword lotus that was several thousand feet long glowed with green divine light. On its surface, Countless tiny green sword chi constantly emitted. They landed in the void and pierced through it, creating numerous hideous and terrifying cracks. This was the ultimate treasure of the Sky Sword Valley, the Myriad Sword Lotus. The Myriad Sword Green Lotus had also been secretly spying for a long time now. At this moment, the position it appeared at was actually less than 1,000 feet away from Sakra and the ancient bridge. The Myriad Sword Green Lotus spun in circles as countless lotus petals opened up and flew out. They were like the most beautiful lotus in the world as they danced in the sky like snowflakes, falling towards the ancient bridge and Sakra from all directions. Crack. Kai kai. Each of these petals was formed from the most domineering green lotus sword aura in the world. The edges of the petals were as sharp as the sharpest swords in the world. As they danced, the space around them was cut open by the sharp edges, causing tiny cracks to appear. They landed in front of the ancient bridge. The divine light from the ancient bridge did not exert much power in front of these petals. It was instantly cut into thousands of pieces and crumbled on the spot. They landed on the ancient bridge. Countless sword marks appeared on the sturdy surface of the ancient bridge. If not for the sturdiness of the ancient bridge, it would have been cut into pieces on the spot. The ancient bridge had been fighting against the Crimson Tide and countless soldier spirits. It was already at its limit and was on the verge of collapse. The Myriad Sword Lotus, on the other hand, had been conserving its energy and instantly launched a thunderous attack. The two collided. In just one move, the ancient bridge was undoubtedly at a disadvantage. At the same time, Di Shitian was also surrounded by countless petals. It was as if they wanted to cut him up and grind him into pieces. Hidden in the beautiful lotus flowers was endless murderous intent. Sneak attack. If you want to pluck my peach in front of me, let's see if you have the ability. Demonic mist blade. Vacuum cutting. Di Shitian glanced coldly. His body shook violently. Suddenly, a huge amount of demonic aura spewed out from the countless pores all over his body. On the spot, countless pitch-black crescent-shaped blades were quickly formed outside his body. It began to dance in the air in a mysterious trajectory. There was not a single gap in his body. The demonic mist blade was an attack method created in the early years. With the support of powerful strength, it erupted with unimaginable power. Under the blade, the void was sharply cut open. It clashed with the petals. The blade chi and sword chi collided. The surrounding space was cut into countless pieces on the spot. Crazy Di, don't go crazy. The power in your body is fading. 30 minutes is up. The purpose of this trip has been completely achieved. The treasures we have plundered are enough to support the construction of the demon city. If you don't leave now, once your power is exhausted and the heavenly yin-yang bridge is destroyed, you, and the millions of demons will all be swallowed by the Crimson Tide. Not even dregs will be left. Only 2 of the 10 great divine artifacts have come out. They haven't used much power, but we can't fight against them. Retreat, we have to evacuate immediately. Dark could clearly feel that Di Shitian's power was rapidly fading. The power of the demon god had also been exhausted by the devour of the Dao Tai. He had now become a heavenly demon. Especially at this moment, only 2 of the 10 great divine artifacts had come out. He was already under immeasurable pressure. If he stayed any longer, he would probably be killed on the spot. My lord, Huang Quan, and my power can only temporarily help you reach the heavenly demon realm. However, it can only last for a day. Master, you have been fighting continuously and have consumed a lot of energy. I'm afraid your power will continue to weaken. After 30 minutes, the power that doesn't belong to you will completely dissipate. Leave this place quickly. The abyss is too dangerous now, Tiankan said weakly in the Linglong treasure pagoda. He tried to persuade him. That's right, my lord. Where there's life, there's hope. This time, we have already obtained countless benefits. It's time to leave. We can't delay any longer, Huang Quan said. How could Di Shitian not feel the situation in his body? It wasn't good, but it wasn't a problem to say that it was bad. If it wasn't for the source of life protecting him, he wouldn't have been able to hold on until now. After a series of fierce battles, He had used the heavenly punishment divine eye and various peerless techniques. He should be proud that he could hold on until now. Bang! Di Shitian looked at the myriad sword green lotus and said coldly, "Heavenly punishment divine eye annihilation." The heavenly punishment divine eye between his brows flashed with a mysterious light again. A purple divine light shot out from the eye and blasted towards the myriad sword green lotus. The power of annihilation and the myriad sword green lotus clashed. The domineering power of annihilation made the green lotus tremble violently. Countless petals fell and the void collapsed. Divine light scattered. It covered the sky. Whoosh! Tiger Soul waved the long blade and slashed in front of him. This slash created a terrifying crack. Out of nowhere, a torrential flood surged out and filled this crack, forming a heavenly river. The heavenly river surged and waves surged. It was like a heavenly moat in front of Di Shitian. Standing on the ancient bridge, his entire body seemed to have completely fused with the ancient bridge. A vast aura was emitted without any concealment. His face was expressionless as he coldly swept his gaze across the void that seemed to be empty. He calmly spat out a sentence, "Blade River," a single line across the sky, transcending the two heavens of life and death. He threw out a sentence. Sakura disdainfully pulled out a mocking smile from the corner of his mouth. It was as if he was looking down on the 10 immortal sects. He turned around and leisurely. He drove the ancient bridge. He crashed into the void. Boom! The ancient bridge emitted a shocking divine light. It tore the void apart and rushed straight in. It was actually going to take the group of monsters and use the power of the ancient bridge to tear the void apart, cross the space, and cross the heavens. It was going to rush out of the terrifying forbidden land of the fallen god Abyss. The eruption of the Crimson Tide, the power of the 10 great divine artifacts, and the many experts who were secretly spying on him. With his current situation, it was completely unsuitable for him to continue staying. Even if he stayed for a breath, there would be shocking changes. He was very clear that although Dao Tai had swallowed the kingdom of eternity, it only trapped him for a few breaths. It could not really hurt him. Coupled with the other divine artifacts, this was already the most terrifying place. If he did not leave now, he would not be able to leave. However, even if he wanted to leave, he had to leave calmly and domineeringly. He directly drove the ancient bridge to travel through the void. However, the moment the ancient bridge entered the space-time crack, a huge golden book appeared beside the crack. "Brothers, March is here. The battle has begun. Monthly votes. Everyone's guaranteed monthly votes for the thousands of monsters. Let's fight side by side. Charge, charge, charge forward. Let our blood boil." To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 557. The Golden Book was shrouded in a thick aura of righteousness. On the surface of the book, there were countless scholars and great Confucians reciting the books of the sages with solemn expressions. It was as if the book contained infinite principles. If one listened carefully, it was enough to greatly increase one's wisdom and open one's spiritual cavities. Don't blame the heavens, don't blame people, go from school to success, those who know me are the heavens. As the heavens move, a gentleman must constantly strive to improve himself. Rise and fall of the country, inherit the peerless era, raise up the peaceful people. Where do the hearts of the people under the heavens belong? From the mouths of those great Confucians, words of warning kept pouring out, each containing profound truth and the thought of Confucianism governing the world. Every sentence was filled with awe-inspiring righteousness. Every sentence stood on the side of justice, occupying a high position. The righteous spirit in his heart would exist forever, and the sun and moon would not fall. Countless great Confucians were chanting. A song of righteousness seemed to be recited from the endless void. There was righteousness in heaven and earth, and manifold was formed. Below were rivers and mountains, and above were the sun and stars. To others, it was said to be so vast and abundant that it could fill the firmament. The royal road should be cleared of barbarians. Hanhe spits out the Ming court. When times are poor, one can see that one by one, the painting is green. Or Liaodong hat, pure and innocent Li Bingxue. Perhaps because of Shi Biao, ghosts and gods weep heroically. Or in order to cross the river, he generously swallowed Hu Jie. Or the strike the thief tablet, the reverse vertical head ruptured. It was the majestic aura that had existed since the beginning of time. When the sun and the moon are connected, life and death are settled. The earthly guardian relies on it to stand, and the heavenly pillar relies on it to be respected. The three principles are the foundation of life, and righteousness is the root. Even if I give you 9 sons, I will not be able to do so. Chu Qiu was the crown prince, and he sent a carriage to Cheung Bei. The cauldron is sweet as honey, but it cannot be obtained. The yin room is lit by the will-o'-the-wisp, the spring courtyard is closed and the sky is dark. Oxen and ghee share the same soap, while chickens perch and phoenixes feast. Mist and dew in the morning divide into barren ditches. In this way, no matter how cold or hot it is, the 100 stallions will naturally be repelled. Sigh, 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 for my peaceful country. How could there be someone like Miao Qiao? Yin and yang cannot be stolen. With this in mind, he looked up at Fu Yunbai. My heart is sad, and the heavens are extremely sad. The day of the philosopher is long gone, and the punishment is long in the past. The wind eaves display the books to read, the ancient road illuminates the color. In the Song of Righteousness, boundless righteousness surged and turned into a long river of righteousness. In the long river, countless Confucian scholars opened their eyes and looked at Di Shitian's figure that was escaping on the ancient bridge. Like a prayer from the underworld, he loudly berated, "Insolent demon, how dare you speak such arrogant words? You shall be executed." This reprimand. The Book of Righteous Qi emitted by countless Confucians at the same time. Each Confucian possessed boundless righteous qi. The righteous qi was incomparably miraculous. As long as one had righteous qi in one's heart, there was nothing in the world that could not invade it. All evils could be easily repelled. Whatever evil spirit, as long as it was enveloped by the righteous qi, it would immediately be annihilated. Even his divine soul wouldn't be left behind. In terms of restraining evil spirits, it was not inferior to Buddhism's Buddhist light. Righteous qi gushed out and condensed into golden ancient seals in the void. Each of the 12 seals contained boundless righteous qi. Each of the seals contained an unparalleled force that was as heavy as Mount Tai. Any evil spirit would be killed on the spot with just one of the seals. And these 12 words were instantly linked together like pearls. They turned into a golden Confucian sword. This Confucian sword was 1,000 feet long. On the sword, the words that had just been berated appeared. It flickered with golden light. With the aura of judgment and evil, it directly slashed toward Di Shitian and the ancient bridge. At this moment, the righteous qi sect brazenly attacked. Under this sword, even the ancient giants would be instantly killed. Even the ancient giants would have to dodge. Not good, madman Di, dodge quickly. This righteous qi is the most gentle, but also the most domineering. This sword must be the ultimate technique of the Confucian school, the sword of utmost holiness. The scholars of the Confucian school could decide the life and death of a person with just a 3-inch long tongue. This sword of utmost holiness could cut off the threads of love, the root of wisdom, and the nameless. It could kill evil spirits. There is righteous qi in heaven and earth. Now that the human race is the main character and the demon race is the evil spirit, it will kill you. It has a great restraining effect on demon qi. At this moment, the 2 dragon eyes of dark were about to completely pop out. It let out an earth-shaking roar and anxiously roared. It felt the aura of death from that golden sword of utmost holiness. The strong sense of danger almost made its entire body explode. Its dragon body was so excited that it danced. Heavenly yin-yang bridge, cross the vacuum for this seat. Blast open the door of time and space. Di Shitian's heart beat wildly. He also felt the aura of death from that sword of utmost holiness. The strong sense of threat stimulated the hair all over his body to stand on end. The power in his body was fading away at a speed that could be felt by anyone. At this moment, he was truly at the end of the line. Dangerous, incomparably dangerous. This sword could really kill him. The imperial true force in his body poured into the ancient bridge like a tide. The ancient bridge erupted with astonishing power. Divine light shook, and countless cloud seals burst out from the ancient bridge. Fight! Di Shitian's eyes flashed with stubbornness. A light flashed in his hand, and a jade-green source of life appeared in his hand again. He threw it into his mouth without hesitation and swallowed it. The power of life instantly burned. The huge amount of essence stopped the power in his body that was rapidly depleting. It stabilized in the heavenly demon realm. Although the source of life was extremely precious, at this moment, no matter how precious it was not more precious than his life. Huang Quan's holy river cut off the sky. Thousands of divine lights flashed around Di Shitian. Under the illumination of the divine lights, his entire body seemed to have turned into a treasure in an instant. His eyes stared at the golden sword of utmost holiness. There was a strong sense of madness in his deep eyes. As he drove the ancient bridge through the void, he waved his long sleeves behind him. Whoosh! Countless sounds of surging water could be heard. Amidst the sounds of waves, there were terrifying howls that sounded like the cries of ghosts and the howls of gods. A long, rolling river appeared in the void. Moreover, the color of the water was very strange. It was actually a kind of jade-green water. Above the jade-green water, there were traces of green water vapor floating up. No living creature could survive in the river. Countless souls floated in the jade-green water, letting out shrill howls. Huang Quan's holy river could cut off the sky and earth, blocking everything. No living creature could stay above the river, and no one could survive in the jade-green water. The water was the most terrifying weak water in the world. It had endless corrosive power. It could devour all things. Boom! 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 The appearance of Huang Quan's holy river suddenly filled the entire space, blocking Di Shitian and the sword of utmost holiness. It swept toward the golden Confucian sword. In the world, there was only one Huang Quan's holy river, but it was divided into two. Half of it was left in the underworld, and the one in front of them was the other half. This kind of natural treasure often had supreme power. In Huang Quan's holy river, there were countless terrifying spatial faults, which contained infinite souls. Boundless danger. And the sword of utmost holiness was the pinnacle of the world's righteousness. It had the terrifying power to kill thousands of evil spirits. When the two collided, it was like boiling oil coming into contact with water. An earth-shattering roar erupted on the spot. Boundless righteousness swept across Huang Quan, and the countless souls in Huang Quan melted at a speed visible to the naked eye like snowflakes in summer. They turned into specks of white light and disappeared. However, the sword of Confucianism was also blocked, and could not instantly pass through Huang Quan. Monster! You deserve to be killed. In the Book of Boundless Righteousness, the great scholar's shout came again. Boundless righteousness turned into talismans, and quickly condensed into a golden iron pen. There were countless patterns on it, and it flashed with a mysterious aura. From afar, the pen was drawn toward Di Shitian. This pen was like the sharpest battle knife in the world, and the void of the pen was naturally cut into terrible cracks. If one was really hit by this pen, one's physical body would collapse. 10,000 green lotus swords, 10,000 lotuses bloom. The huge 10,000 green lotus of swords spun violently. As it spun, countless beautiful tiny green lotuses flew out from it and bombarded the yellow springs. The moment they landed on the yellow springs, those green lotuses immediately exploded with resplendent green lotus sword chi. They were so sharp that they cut through space and were about to shatter the yellow springs. Boom! Boom! The Kingdom of Eternity also broke through Taotia's devouring in an instant and blasted Dao Tai into pieces. Thousands of eternal divine thunder were thrown out of the Kingdom of Eternity and smashed toward Di Shitian. For a moment, the attacks covered the sky and covered the earth. Although Huang Quan was magical, it was instantly scattered. Oh no! Ming was almost scared out of his wits when he saw the overbearing attacks. The power of the 3 divine artifacts was enough to suppress all the worlds in the universe. There was almost no power that could stop their attack. Even Huang Quan was shattered in an instant. Although it was not destroyed, it was still seriously injured. Lunatic Di, you will die in the face of the 3 divine artifacts. Ming shouted crazily. However, suddenly, in the spacetime crack created by the ancient bridge, a green page flashed through the crack, as if it was going to pass through the crack and enter the abyss, responding to the call of the treasure bowl and the money tree. Ming suddenly exclaimed with surprise when she saw the dark green paper, and her eyes were filled with excitement as she cried out loudly, "We're safe. Supreme Book of Ming, heed my call. Come back quickly." Immediately, the strange paper that was about to rush into the Godsfall abyss suddenly stopped. It trembled violently a few times and burst out with dazzling divine light. Suddenly, it broke through space toward Di Shitian. "Book of Ming, heed my call. Go completely berserk, shatter, and merge with the heavenly punishment." Ming shouted crazily, "Lunatic Di, quickly, swallow this page into the heavenly punishment godly eye. I will completely detonate the power of the Book of Ming and erupt with supreme power. At that time, the heavenly punishment godly eye will have unparalleled power. One strike, only one strike, blast open a path. Otherwise, we will all die here." The appearance of the Book of Ming instantly gave a glimmer of hope to this certain death situation. This was originally Ming's original body. Although it was only 1 page, the power it contained was almost immeasurable. If all 18 pages were collected, Ming would be able to break free from the heavenly punishment godly eye's imprisonment and be reborn again. However, in the face of life and death, Ming did not hesitate at all and made the choice in an instant. Brothers, support us with your monthly votes. Drifting will not be stingy in the update. This is the first chapter of today, delivered. If you have a guaranteed monthly vote, please vote for Myriad Demons. I will continue to write. My blood is boiling. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 558. It was a huge choice. The Underworld book was exiled in the turbulence of time and space. It was attracted by the crack that Di Shitian blasted open, and attracted by the treasure bowl and money tree. At this time, if the Underworld book could be fully assembled, it would mean that Underworld could really break free from everything and be free. Keeping the Underworld book would be the most beneficial thing for Underworld. However, at this moment, it was bound to Di Shitian for good or ill. If Di Shitian was killed, it might not get any benefits. The key was that during this period of time, it seemed that unknowingly, it had become the soul of the Underworld book. Instead, it regarded itself as the soul of the Underworld book and regarded itself as the soul of the Eye of Heaven's punishment divine eye. To help control the nether prison inside. For a moment, it almost didn't think and made this decision that could decide its fate. Although the shattering of the Underworld book would instantly erupt with an unparalleled power that could shake the heavens and earth, activating the overbearing divine power of the heavenly punishment divine eyes and breaking all restrictions, the price was that the Underworld book would never be completed. It would become incomplete. Good. Di Shitian rolled his eyes and immediately thought of the consequences of Underworld's action. A warm current flashed in his heart, and he said in a deep voice, "Eye of Heaven's punishment divine eye, devour the Underworld book." Under the control of Underworld, the Underworld book was devoured by the Eye of Heaven's punishment divine eye without any resistance. In an instant, the page of the Underworld book collapsed and turned into countless green light rain, drifting over the entire nether prison. The raindrops fell on the nether prison and quickly merged with it. In the blink of an eye, the entire nether prison expanded rapidly. Boom! Boom! The edge of the nether prison was a pitch-black world of nothingness. At this moment, the entire nether prison seemed to have a life of its own. It quickly wriggled and began to spread to the outside world of nothingness. It kept expanding at a speed visible to the naked eye. This was the sign that the underworld book was merging with the eye of heaven's punishment divine eye. In bursts of rumbling, the nether prison expanded rapidly from the original 10,000 feet to 50,000 feet in an instant. It was 5 times larger than before. For a moment, the nether prison, which was originally a little crowded, suddenly became empty. The nether prison existed in the Book of the Netherworld, so this fusion was a matter of course. Di Shitian didn't have the time to look at the changes in the divine eye. He only felt that there was an incomparably ferocious force emerging from the divine eye, overbearing and enormous. All of a sudden, the divine eye was almost unable to control itself. It couldn't help but want to shoot out beams of terrifying divine light. In his mind, he felt as if the divine eye could destroy the heavens and earth and shatter everything. He was like the divine emperor of the heavens, standing above the heavens and earth. His eyes flashed as he glanced at the countless attacks that were bombarding him from all directions. In a cold and arrogant voice, he said, "Heavenly punishment, divine eye, annihilation, Pucci." A purple divine light shot out from the divine eye. This divine light was deep and terrifying. It swept across in a fan shape. Wherever it swept, all the attacks were instantly pulverized by the divine light. The void was also annihilated by the divine light. Countless elements of earth, fire, water, and wind emerged. The golden divine brush, the holy word sword, the terrifying green lotus, and countless eternal divine thunder. As the divine light swept past, there was a fierce stalemate. However, under the support of the almost endless annihilation power of the divine eye, they were all pulverized. In an instant, all the attacks were pulverized. Break the shackles, open a space-time rift. Cross the void. Di Shitian's divine eye swept forward and blasted open the shackles in the void. Divine light flickered on the ancient bridge. Countless cloud seals danced in the sky, shaking the surrounding space and constantly cracking it. With a sweep of the divine light, a crack was forcibly blasted open in front of him. This crack contained countless space fragments and countless small and large worlds. If he was not careful, he would fall into some unknown small world. At the end of the blasted passage, the aura of the source continent was emitted. He could directly cross it and return to the purple gold continent. The purple gold continent was vast and boundless. If he left the southern barbarian behind and hid in a certain place, no matter how powerful the 10 immortal sects were, it would be difficult to find him easily. Rumble. With a leap, the ancient bridge directly entered the space-time tunnel. In an instant, the ancient bridge had already entered the space-time tunnel. Compass of heavenly secrets, disrupt the heavenly secrets and cut off the vacuum. Just as the ancient bridge entered the tunnel, a compass shining with divine light suddenly appeared in front of the tunnel. The celestial pond and even the needle on the compass were clearly displayed. The needle on the compass began to spin in a strange manner. As the needle spun, the surrounding space also began to spin in a strange manner. As the needle spun, the surrounding space also began to spin in a strange manner. As the needle spun, the surrounding space began to twist and distort. In the opened tunnel, the stability of the spacetime force was instantly broken. Countless violent spacetime fragments gushed out like a tide and swept toward the ancient bridge. In an instant, the aura of the source continent completely dissipated. Countless chaotic spaces emitted endless power and crazily tore at the ancient bridge, trying to pull it into a mysterious space. Not good. Damn it, the human race is indeed insidious. They actually chose to disrupt spacetime at this time. Once spacetime is in chaos, the spacetime fragments that burst out will crush us into pieces. A trace of anger flashed in the eyes of the King Blood Dragon, who had been standing in the ancient bridge. The previous series of fierce battles were simply incomparably exciting. Unfortunately, the strength of both sides in the battle was not something that they could match. Not to mention helping, even if they were to get close, there was a possibility that their demonic bodies would be shredded into pieces. However, even so, witnessing the battle between Di Shitian and the 10 great immortal sects with their own eyes was simply fascinating. However, although it was exciting, the danger within made them break out in cold sweat. Although there was no real battle, They felt as if their whole body was about to collapse. It was not easy to leave the damned forbidden area of the God's Fall abyss. Unexpectedly, at the last moment, the 10 great immortal sects did not give up and directly distorted the spacetime tunnel. They disrupted the original fixed coordinates. Lunatic DI, hurry up. Once we are trapped in the spacetime fragments, we will be in big trouble. If we go deeper, we don't know what kind of dangerous place we will be taken to. If we inexplicably fall into the other forbidden areas, with our current situation, we will be courting death. Hurry up, use the heaven's punishment divine eye to blast a tunnel. No matter where it is, we must escape immediately. Dark shouted anxiously. The spacetime fragments were not scary normally, but once they were encountered, they would go berserk and form a storm. Even the heavenly demons would be lost in the endless spacetime, or even be killed directly. The most terrifying thing was that it might bring people into some dangerous places where there was no chance of survival. At this moment, the ancient bridge was wrapped in a silver-white cloud. Countless spacetime blades in the silver cloud were madly attacking the ancient bridge, wrapping around it and sweeping it in an unknown direction. Once the cultivation within Di Shitian's body completely dissipated, then what awaited the group of demons would probably be the worst situation. Humph. The 10 great immortal sects want to bury me in this vast space-time. How can I let them have their way? Heaven's punishment divine eye, blast open the space-time tunnel. With the support of the source of life, Di Shitian's cultivation was still at the heavenly demon level and had not fallen completely. The heaven's punishment divine eye was a heaven-defying ability. At this moment, with the power of the heavenly demon, once it was activated, a dazzling divine light flowed in the divine eye, and a divine light filled with mighty power shot out fiercely. It blasted into the surrounding spacetime fragments. All the fragments were directly annihilated by the divine light. In one blow, the divine light surged and blasted directly into the void. Boom, boom, boom. The void shook violently, as if it was about to completely collapse. The divine light's sharpness was limitless. With the cultivation of the heaven's punishment divine eye, the mighty power that erupted from it was almost unstoppable. Under the bombardment of the divine light, a deep hole was directly pierced through. At the other end of the tunnel, there was a faint ancient and vast aura. It had a strange attraction to the demon power in Di Shitian and the other demons. Even the blood in their bodies could not help but circulate at a faster speed. It was as if there was something that had a strong attraction to the demon race. However, it was clear that the other end of the tunnel was not the original source land that they wanted to go to. The spacetime was distorted, and if they wanted to find the source land again, it would be difficult to find it through ordinary means. I can't care so much anymore. Travel. All kinds of thoughts flashed through Di Shitian's mind quickly as he thought of all kinds of possibilities. However, one thing was already in front of him. No matter what kind of world was at the other end of the tunnel, there was no other choice now. Whoosh! The ancient bridge turned into a stream of light and traveled into the tunnel. It did not take too long to travel through the tunnel. Almost in the blink of an eye, the scenery in front of them suddenly changed, and the pressure around them suddenly disappeared. Boom, boom, boom! The ancient bridge landed on a flat plain. It landed on the ground, and the incomparable weight actually caused the earth to shake violently. It was as if there was an earthquake. Whoosh! Once they entered this strange world, all the demons suddenly took a deep breath in unison. Many of them could not help but let out a comfortable sigh. They only felt that a casual breath made every inch of their flesh and blood involuntarily surge with joy as if they were stimulated, and they could not help but be infatuated with the air outside their bodies. There was a strange power in the air that actually made their tired bodies and minds magically become comfortable. Their spirits could not help but be shaken, and their entire bodies and minds could not help but relax. Di Shitian was naturally deeply touched by this, and he couldn't help but hurriedly sweep his eyes all around him. With this look, a hint of speechlessness appeared in his eyes. The second chapter is here. The monthly votes are about to be caught up. Everyone, put in more effort and push it up. I will continue to write the third chapter. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www. Chidien.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 559. In front of his eyes, towering mountains and undulating mountain ranges resembled coiling dragons. Countless precious flowers and trees towered into the sky. It looked like a fairyland. Between heaven and earth, the abundant energy of heaven and earth was even more abundant than that of the source continent. In particular, the energy of heaven and earth was mixed with traces of the power of the stars. The sky was densely covered with stars, embellishing the night sky. A blood moon hung high in the sky, and from the moon, pure and enormous moonlight constantly fell. Between heaven and earth, the yuan qi of heaven and earth was formed by the fusion of spiritual energy, the power of the stars, and even the power of the moon. This kind of yuan qi was pure and enormous, and could be absorbed into one's body just by breathing. The demon clan was originally a spirit born from heaven and earth. In the beginning, when they were still ignorant, they could only instinctively absorb and use the essence of the sun and moon to temper their bodies. Opening the spiritual cavities, it could be said that the essence of the sun and moon had an irreplaceable effect on the demon clan. The power of the stars was even more amazing. The sun, moon, and stars themselves were a kind of divine splendor. To the demon clan, it was extremely beneficial. At any time, it was the best yuan qi that the demon clan would scramble for. These three combined with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and the yuan qi formed by the fusion was simply the most suitable energy in the world for the demon clan to absorb. If one wanted to cultivate in such an environment, there was no need to worry about rapid progress. Even if it was ordinary flowers, trees, birds, and beasts. In such an environment, even if one did not know how to absorb, one could open the spiritual cavities within 10 years and give birth to spirituality. Within 100 years, one could transform into a demon king. Within 1,000 years, one could even become a demon king. The later realms depended on one's potential and aptitude. However, the demon clan that was born in such an environment would definitely not have ordinary aptitude. This place was simply a fairyland that was tailor-made for the demon clan. If there was a demon realm, Di Shitian had every reason to believe that this was the legendary demon realm. What is this place? Bai Hu quietly walked to Di Shitian's side and blinked her eyes. She had a ribbon wrapped around her arms, and her snow-white palace dress accentuated her perfect figure. Looking at the surroundings, a look of pleasant surprise flashed in his eyes. He said, "What abundant heaven-earth yuan qi. The yuan qi here is extremely suitable for us demons to cultivate. If we can cultivate here often, our demon race will have countless elites and experts. Moreover, I don't know why, but when I came here, I actually felt a sense of familiarity. It's as if I've arrived at home." As he spoke, he closed his eyes slightly, and an intoxicated expression appeared on his face. The essence of the sun, moon, and stars here are extremely dense and abundant. There's even a blood moon in the sky. If my memory isn't wrong, there was once an ancient book that described such a scene. It's almost as if this is the demon realm. Dreamy monarch silver hair looked up at the blood moon in the sky with a solemn expression. Regardless of whether it was the yuan qi of heaven and earth, or the vast expanse of land, mountains, and forests, all of these were the most suitable places for the demon race to live. In particular, there was a faint sense of familiarity in the air, which seemed to come from the bloodline. There weren't many places in the universe that could have such a strange reaction. The places that could surpass the source continent in terms of yuan qi could be counted with one's fingers. Demon realm? A light flashed in Di Shitian's eyes, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. A look of surprise flashed in his mind, and he vaguely felt that something was wrong. If this is the demon realm, based on the heaven-earth yuan qi, there's a 90% chance that it's the demon realm. However, why do I feel that something is missing here? There's a deathly stillness in the air. Could it be that something has happened here? He thought to himself. There was something strange about this place. Even though the origin energy was abundant, the strangest thing was that there were no living creatures in sight. There wasn't even the sound of insects or birds. It was quiet, so quiet that it was terrifying. The scene around them was too strange. Something's wrong. The Rock Demon King walked forward, frowned slightly, and said, "It's too quiet here. We can't even see a bird. Everyone, don't let your guard down." At this moment, all the Demon Kings gathered together. Under the Rock Demon King's reminder, they all keenly noticed this point, and the warning signs in their hearts were naturally raised. However, unconsciously, everyone's gaze fell on Di Shitian. It was as if they were asking for his opinion. This kind of subconscious behavior. It also unintentionally highlighted that at this moment, in their eyes, Sakra's identity and status had quietly undergone a huge change. After all, they had seen his domineering conquering methods before. His courage to challenge the 10 great immortal sects was enough to earn their respect. Standing in front of Di Shitian, they subconsciously felt like they were lowering their heads. Subconsciously, they didn't dare to stand in the same position as him. "All demons, listen up. Set up camp here and send elites to patrol the surroundings. Investigate the situation within 1,000 miles. The Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise legions are on guard. Once there's a situation, report it immediately. Anyone who offends will be killed without mercy." Di Shitian's heart turned as he swept his gaze across the demons. Wherever his gaze passed, none of the demons dared to look at him. They all lowered their heads, intimidated by the majesty in his eyes. "Yes, sir." The demons replied in unison. Then, the demons immediately began to set up camp in an orderly manner. They arranged for people to be on guard and arranged for scouts to explore the surroundings. With the bird-type demons as the main force, they explored from the sky and searched on the ground. They almost didn't miss an inch of soil and investigated everything very carefully. However, the Rock Demon King and the others also returned to their own subordinates. The demons led by them had also plundered many treasures in the Crimson Tide. At this moment, they needed to go forward to organize, estimate, and thoroughly count the wealth they had obtained. In this regard, Di Shitian smiled indifferently. The cultivation in his body had quietly fallen back to the Demon King realm of the Demon Core 4th transformation. In the Demon Mansion, the Black Lotus, which had been undergoing drastic changes, had also transformed into the 5th rank Black Lotus at this moment. In the Black Lotus, the 4 divine ability talismans didn't dissipate. They still emitted a mysterious aura, constantly swallowing the power of heaven and earth. Absorbing power to strengthen the power of the talismans themselves. It made the divine ability talismans even more magical. The biggest gain from forcibly stepping into the Sky Demon realm this time was the 4 divine ability talismans in front of him. This was the manifestation of the divine ability's great success. In the future, if he wanted to use it again, he would be able to erupt with supreme power with just a thought. Wealth, that's right. I should also count the wealth plundered from the Crimson Tide this time. I wonder how much it is. Thinking of the huge harvest in the fallen god abyss this time, Di Shitian's eyes couldn't help but completely lit up. In that incense stick's time, the demon soldiers of the 4 armies were almost desperately fishing for treasures. What was caught in each net was a huge treasure mountain. In just a few breaths, a treasure mountain could be found. What kind of huge amount of treasures had been plundered in that incense stick's time? In addition to what he had obtained with the 5-colored divine light in front of the 10 immortal sects, the wealth he had plundered added up. Just by thinking about it, Sakra felt that there seemed to be an inexhaustible huge mountain of treasures in front of him. He couldn't help but become a little anxious. Quick, go and count the wealth. God, I actually succeeded in plundering from the Crimson Tide. My goodness, I'm rich this time. I'm really rich. Go and count it quickly. Just based on the harvest this time, your wealth is completely comparable to the treasury left by Sky Demon Ziue for you. Ming's eyes were also shining with excitement. Even he had never experienced such an exciting thing. Plundering treasures from the Crimson Treasure Tide, TSK. Just thinking about it made his blood boil. More importantly, he had succeeded at this moment and even escaped from the damned dangerous place of the fallen god abyss. The construction materials of the 1,000-demon city are finally going to be settled. Di Shitian took a deep breath and waved his long sleeve. Immediately, the purple-gold exquisite pagoda flew out of his hand. It instantly enlarged in mid-air and landed on a flat grassland. An ancient and mysterious aura was emitted from the pagoda. After instructing the demons to guard it, suppressing the excitement in his heart, he turned into a stream of light and entered the pagoda. He directly rushed into the second level of the pagoda. In front of him, there were suddenly countless rays of treasure light that shot towards his eyes. The light was so strong that it could almost pierce his eyes. "Welcome back, Your Majesty." A wave of worshipping sounds resounded in his ears. Those voices did not conceal the endless worship and fanaticism that flowed out of them. The Crimson Tide. Even the extremely dangerous Crimson Tide couldn't stop His Majesty. He had plundered countless treasures from the Crimson Tide. This action completely convinced the demons, and that fanaticism was emitted without reservation. Di Shitian's position in their hearts had risen to the level of God. "Get up." Di Shitian waved his hand and asked the demons to get up. Only then did he look in the direction where he saw the treasure light. With this look, even Di Shitian, who was confident in his mental fortitude and determination, couldn't help but hold his breath. The thoughts in his mind began to stop. This, my goodness, 9,000 blade treasure mountains. I have never seen so many treasures. Di. Madman Di, you're rich. You've really become the second richest man in the world after the treasure bowl and the money tree. How many treasures are there? Dark was so shocked by the scene in front of him that even his words began to stutter. Even though he had existed since ancient times, he was also completely stunned. Witnessing the 9 mountains of treasures that pierced the clouds and were tens of thousands of blades tall and completely formed from various precious treasures with one's own eyes, that kind of shock was practically indescribable. It was as if even his heart had stopped beating in an instant. There were a total of 9 of these treasured mountains of 10,000 blades. Wealth, endless wealth. This time, he had really become a rich man. Brothers, those who have monthly votes, support me. Everyone, fight together. This is the 3rd chapter. Next, I'm going to prepare for a while. Since everyone has pushed the demons to the top of the monthly votes list, I can't let everyone down. I'm going to continue to explode. I'll continue to do so tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, as long as everyone gives me the passion. I'll also support you. This time, I'm going all out. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 560. Tycoon. Looking at the 9 treasured mountains in front of him, Sakura couldn't help but have such a thought in his mind. With such a huge amount of treasures, any one of these treasured mountains might not even be comparable to the wealth that the 10 great immortal sects had plundered for countless years. One mountain was already a shocking amount of wealth. But now, there were 9 mountains in front of him. What an unimaginable amount of wealth. If one were to ask who was the richest in the world, obviously, the treasure bowl and the money tree would be the richest in the world. And now, Di Shitian could be called the second richest in the world. There were so many treasures that it was impossible to count them all. Shitian, the most important thing now is to quickly sort out these 9 mountains and sort them out. Make a list of the items and calculate them as soon as possible. She was dressed in a simple and elegant palace robe. Her body carried a natural elegance and a mysterious brilliance. The majesty that belonged to the demon empress was slowly being cultivated on her body. Naturally, she carried the aura of a mother. Now, she had completely immersed herself in her identity. During this period of time in the Jade Pool, she was becoming more and more like the demon empress. Previously, she was also stunned by the 9 treasure mountains. However, when she regained her senses, she was excited and quickly thought of how to deal with this huge wealth as soon as possible. All of these would be the greatest foundation of the 1,000 demon city in the future. Whether it could develop or not, This amount of wealth would be the root of everything. Huff. Sakura heavily spat out the turbid air in his chest, and the expression in his eyes gradually recovered its calmness. It was as deep as usual, but in the depth, there was a touch of joy that couldn't be concealed. His eyes swept forward and landed on Hu. He said in a low voice, "Hu, your subject is here." Hu immediately stepped forward and replied respectfully, "Has the admirable heavenly treasury been completed?" Di Shitian calmly asked. "Reporting to your majesty. Since receiving your majesty's orders, I have led the demons on a journey day and night, not daring to rest for even a moment. Using high-grade divine crystals as materials, countless artificers, formation masters, and the two elders, Tian Kan and Huang Quan, we have completed the project a year ago. The admirable heavenly treasury is built in the Jade Pool. The treasury is divided into 5 levels: Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow. Outside of Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow, there is another level called Rare Treasures Pavilion. Each level is divided into 7 areas: Heaven and Earth Spiritual Essence, Heaven and Earth Treasures, Elixirs, Spirit Wine, Treasures, Divine Weapons, and Ancient Books. They are divided into different categories. Inside, it has the power to contain the void. Can contain infinite amount of treasures. Everything is ready and can be used anytime. Old Fox's wise eyes also flashed with excitement. He thought to himself, with these countless treasures, my demon city will definitely be completed at an unimaginable speed. With such a strong foundation, the demon clan will definitely rise, and my fox clan will truly be able to find a place to stay, no longer having to worry. There's also Heavenly Fragrance. She's from the 9-tailed Heavenly Fox bloodline. She's the natural leader of our fox clan. Based on what I've seen so far, she definitely has feelings for His Majesty. As long as she becomes a demon concubine, our fox bloodline will flourish. Various thoughts flashed through Old Fox's mind. During this period of time, he had witnessed many things that Sakura had experienced. In Old Fox's heart, he had long integrated himself into the myriad demon city. There was absolutely no hesitation in pledging his loyalty, and he had completely recognized Sakura's identity as the king. However, loyalty was loyalty, and he also had his own thoughts. He had the Fox clan behind him. In the future, there would be various demon clans in the demon city. How to raise the status of the Fox clan and make their lives better became his goal. Bai Hu's arrival gave him an opportunity. He wanted to make Bai Hu a demon concubine in the demon city. The prerequisite for this was that he had to have an important position in the demon city and make great contributions to the city. It would only be possible if he had an important position in Di Shitian's heart. That was his idea. When Hu was building the demon city, he did his best to ensure that nothing would go wrong. Hu, you've done well. Sakura listened to Old Fox's construction plan for the Imperial Heavens Treasury. The various arrangements in the treasury were almost meticulous to the extreme. Especially the division of the areas by name, it was even more convenient for management. Nodding his head, he praised, "After this, you can go and collect 10,000 demon coins. However, before this, you have to take the lead and count the treasures in front of you. Put them in the Imperial Treasury according to their category and grade. Store them in the treasury for now. Establish a list of names." Sakura also secretly praised Old Fox's ability to handle affairs and ordered him to immediately start counting and sorting out 9 treasure mountains. This amount of wealth was unimaginable. Sorting it out was also an incomparably huge project. Put the treasures in the treasury. The rest of the abandoned Dharma weapons, Dharma treasures, and broken weapons are all sent into the exquisite 7 orifices pot to be refined into divine crystals. Di Shitian ordered again. Although there were many treasures in the 10,000 treasures Crimson Tide, in fact, in the Crimson Tide, treasures occupied at most 1/3 of the total. Almost 2/3 of them were broken Dharma weapons. If these weapons were in the God-perishing abyss, they would be divided among the soul soldiers. They would be used to nurture new soul soldiers. The rest of the treasures would be sent to the treasure basin and the money tree. Therefore, although there were 9 mountains of treasures in front of them, there were also many abandoned weapons and weapons. TSK. What I want are these abandoned artifacts and weapons. Although they're all rather damaged, there must be extremely precious materials among the materials that can be drawn over by the treasure basin and money tree. They might be useless to others, but they're basically perfect when used to refine divine crystals. Any random scrap sword thrown in here could be refined into dozens of high-grade divine crystals, turning waste into treasure. Lunatic DI has really struck it rich this time. Dark licked his lips excitedly. For others, those abandoned and broken magical treasures were no different from scrap iron. Even if those magical treasures contained a lot of precious materials, it was almost impossible to refine them again. Even if it was possible to refine them, it was unknown how much would be consumed in the process, as well as how much energy it would take. It was almost not worth the loss. No one would be too concerned. But Di Shitian was different. The strength of the exquisite seven orifices pot was that it could refine any material, whether it was the most primitive and unrefined spiritual or a finished Dharma weapon or Dharma weapon. Even the raw materials, as long as they were thrown into the pot, would all be smelted under the refining of the divine fire. In the end, they would merge with the incense and the power of will. They would turn into cubes of divine crystals. However, the quality and quantity of divine crystals were greatly related to the preciousness and grade of the materials used. For example, a piece of star essence, even if it was only the size of a fist, could easily be refined into hundreds or thousands of cubes of high-grade divine crystals. The exquisite seven orifices pot did not care about the quantity, but also the grade. And these broken weapons that could sense the summons of the treasure basin and the money tree were all powerful Dharma weapons that were rare in the world before they were broken. They contained all kinds of rare materials. These could be turned into treasures one by one in the exquisite seven orifices pot. Therefore, the 9 treasure mountains in front of them, even if 2/3 of them were broken Dharma weapons. But their preciousness was definitely not inferior to any other treasure. They were rich. They were completely rich. Yes, Your Majesty. I'll do it right away. Whose eyes, which were filled with vicissitudes of life, also revealed an excited expression. He also understood what these 9 treasure mountains meant. Who went down? He led the tens of thousands of demons who had been baptized by the jade pool and forcibly transformed into human forms and surged towards the 9 treasure mountains. However, the order was not chaotic. The division of labor was clear and they began to move. Who personally led the group of demons? He held a jade book in his hand and stood at the side, appraising and recording all kinds of treasures. He made the patterns of the treasures into an illustration handbook in the book. It marked its name, grade, and specific quantity. Then, they were transported to the Imperial Treasure Vault according to their categories. According to their respective grades, they were placed in different levels. For example, Heaven-grade treasures were sent to the Heaven Treasure Vault in the Imperial Treasure Vault. Earth-grade treasures were sent to the Earth Treasure Vault. Then, according to their types, they were placed in various areas and marked with their names. Their functions were indicated. Everything was done according to the process. As for the appraisal work, it was naturally handled by the 2 old antiques, Sky Silkworm and Huang Quan. With Sky Silkworm's cultivation base, he was extremely familiar with all kinds of materials. He easily appraised the treasures one by one. It was recorded. Immediately, one by one, the treasures were carefully packed in treasure boxes. They were sent to the treasure vault. The rest of the broken treasures were sent to the exquisite 7 orifices pot in the 1,000 Demon City. 3 lives stone, low-grade heaven-grade spiritual material. It has the miraculous effect of awakening the memories of 3 lifetimes of reincarnation. During reincarnation, it can ensure that the memories are not damaged. Send it to the Heaven Treasure Vault, Heavenly Materials and Earthly Treasures area. Fusang Staff, high-grade earth-grade divine weapon, refined from the Fusang divine wood on the Sun Star. It can activate the true fire of the sun, strong and domineering, with endless power. It has the soul of the great sun Golden Crow, earth-grade. Send it to the Earth Treasure Vault, divine weapon area. Source of the world, high-grade heaven-grade divine treasure, a divine object nurtured by the world tree, containing the power of the world. It is magical, and together with the source of life, it can create an inner world in the body. Send it to the rare treasures pavilion. Seal it. Sky Silkworm and Huang Quan, because they had given all their power to Di Shitian, were now a little pale. However, their eyes were shining continuously, excitedly looking at the treasures that were brought over one by one. Their mood became extremely excited, and they quickly reported a series of appraisal results. Then, they let the Green Phoenix swordsman personally escort them to the treasure vault and send them to various places according to the instructions. With the 9 treasure mountains in front of them, even a blind man could open his eyes. Looking at the treasures that were sent into the treasure vault like flowing water, Di Shitian's heart flashed with a touch of satisfaction, and he thought to himself, this trip to the fallen god abyss is already considered a success. To be able to get these 9 treasure mountains is a blessing from the heavens. I already have the materials to build the demon city. Although the space in front of them is strange, it is very likely to be the demon realm. If there is no danger, this is the most suitable place to rest and recuperate. Brothers, if you give me your strength, I will give you my strength. Today, the first chapter has been delivered. Monthly votes, monthly votes, monthly votes. We are chasing closely behind. This month, let's fight together. I don't want to fight how much I can update a day, I want to fight how long I can last. 3 chapters, I want to keep updating 3 chapters every day. Please give me passion, everyone. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 561. This time, in the Million Treasure Red Tide, he had made a lot of money. Even the 10 great immortal sects could not compare to the wealth he had plundered. At the same time, he had also provoked the heaven-level soldier soul, which had blasted into the Red Tide. In the Red Tide, even the 10 great divine weapons did not dare to open the passage to absorb the treasures. Once opened, it was tantamount to directly opening a gap in the Crimson Tide. It was like a gap in a dam, allowing the flood to rush down and completely destroy the entire dam. The same logic applied. Absorbing treasures in the Crimson Tide was like dancing on the tip of a knife. Even the 10 divine treasures wouldn't dare to do so. It could be said that the 10 great divine weapons did not have as many treasures as Di Shitian had absorbed in the Red Tide. However, although this time he was lucky enough to escape the attack of the 10 great immortal sects, and finally crossed time and space to enter this strange place, Di Shitian thought that it was a good thing. This time, the plan of the 10 great immortal sects was ruined by me, attracting hundreds of tribes and countless rogue cultivators to spy on me. In their plan, I have a share of the profits. Whether it is the previous rumors or the fact that I snatched their fruits and plundered countless treasures, they will inevitably pay great attention to me. My identity has been exposed. After this time, with the power of the 10 great immortal sects, it will not be difficult to find out that the rumors are related to me. In addition, I have obtained this boundless wealth. I am afraid that they will inevitably send experts to investigate. Moreover, the wealth I have is enough to make me a fragrant membrane. Everyone wants to pounce on me and take a bite. If I really return to the purple gold continent, it will not be good. Now, in this strange world, I can avoid the limelight this time and let the rumors outside gradually cool down. This is actually a good thing. Moreover, the demon city should take advantage of this time to speed up the construction. When the day is completed, I will return to the purple gold continent. Naturally, I will be able to kill gods and Buddhas. Di Shitian's mind was spinning wildly with all kinds of thoughts. He did not lose himself in the boundless wealth in front of him. He carefully thought about the current situation and the various directions in the future. Instead, he was in no hurry to leave. Now, what he needed most was time. He needed time to digest the huge wealth he had obtained this time, and to take advantage of this buffer period to completely build the demon city. At that time, he would be above all the worlds in the universe. He was not afraid of any expert. TSK, the world origin seed is a great treasure. Crazy Emperor, the most important thing now is for you to cultivate and use the world origin seed with the life origin seed to open up your inner world. No. Nether became excited after seeing that the world source seed had been taken. He shouted, "Don't be reckless. With your wealth, you can nurture the most perfect world seed in the world. Haha, this idea of mine is really too great. Once you succeed, you will possess the most wonderful inner world in the world." Nether seemed to have come up with a shocking idea and couldn't help but laugh wildly. His eyes flickered as if he was proud of his idea. The source seed of the world was a treasure related to the inner world. Naturally, there were also differences between good and bad. Ordinary world source seeds were born in very ordinary inner worlds. However, the higher the grade of the seed, the more mysterious the inner worlds it was born in. He was born with divine powers. More importantly, it was related to the development potential of his inner world. World source seeds could be divided into 4 grades: low grade, medium grade, high grade, and perfect grade. Among them, the inferior class inner worlds were the most common and the most common. Middle class inner worlds were usually more stable and sturdy. High class inner worlds were usually larger and more stable than other inner worlds. More often than not, there would be some miraculous treasures. For example, a spirit spring could be born in the world, which could provide endless spiritual chi. For example, if he obtained a spring, the power of water would be inexhaustible, and so on. Once a divine item was born in the inner world. Its potential was enough to allow an ordinary cultivator to have the opportunity to become a peerless expert. As for the perfect world seed, it had never appeared since the birth of the world. Perfect world seed. How do I nurture it? When Di Shitian heard what Nether said, he felt as if dozens of terrifying hurricanes had swept through his heart. His eyes shone brightly. Without even thinking about it, he immediately asked, "TSK, TSK." Nether laughed wildly and shouted, "Source seed of life, source seed of life, have you forgotten? We still have a large number of source seeds of life. In the whole world, only you have the chance to cultivate a perfect world source seed." Perfect world seed. TSK, TSK, we have to create a miracle. I remember that in ancient times, a lunatic had proposed such an idea. Let me see, let me see. I'm sure I can find a way. Nether shouted crazily as he entrenched himself in the Nether prison. His mind was searching for the secret method to cultivate the source seed of life at an immeasurable speed. Perfect world seed. Di Shitian murmured, and he couldn't help but feel a kind of expectation that he never had before. He had seen the magic of the inner world with his own eyes. It could overlap with the void and achieve the effect of concealment. This was the most basic ability, and it had thoroughly outlined the strength of the inner world. That was just the inner world of an ordinary world source seed. How powerful would the inner world be if it was nurtured by a perfect world source seed? However, this matter could not be rushed, and there was no need to rush. The opening of the inner world was a matter of great importance. When the inner world was opened, the power of the world released by the source seed would cause the host's strength to undergo a metamorphosis. It would allow the host's strength to instantly rise by a whole new realm based on their current foundation. This kind of opportunity was rare in the world. Even Di Shitian had to consider it carefully. At this moment, my cultivation base has already reached the peak of the 4th transformation realm because of the 2 source of life. I only need to spend a little more time in seclusion to open the 5th demonic vein. Once I open the demonic vein, I will be able to absorb the power of desire and enter the realm of desire. After passing the test, I will be able to step into the 5th transformation realm of Yaodan. It's not worth it to waste the opportunity to elevate a realm at this moment. I need to plan carefully. How could Di Shitian be satisfied with just elevating a realm? His plan was to wait until he passed the test of the realm of desire and broke through to the 5th transformation of monster core. Then, he would use the source seed of the world to open the inner world and use the power of the world to elevate again and directly enter the 6th transformation of monster core, the peak of the ancient monster king realm. There should be more than one source seed of the world. When the time comes, Chen Shi, Little White, Mother, by who, and the others will all have to open their inner worlds. If not, I will have to go to the world tree and take it by force. All kinds of thoughts flashed through his mind. At this time, Chen Shi's eyes fell on an open space in the demon city. There were rows of soldiers lined up neatly like statues. Among them, most of them seemed to be made of iron and blood. They seemed to be made of bronze. Their eyes were tightly shut, and they did not emit any power. However, they emitted a cold, murderous intent. This trace of killing intent completely seeped out from his bones. There were a total of 100,000 warriors like this. At the front, there were 18 warriors holding different weapons in their hands. They were taller than ordinary warriors. The murderous intent emitted from their bodies almost froze the air in an instant. Soldier souls. There were a total of 100,000 profound-grade soldier souls and 18 earth-grade soldier souls. Profound-grade soldier souls were comparable to demon saints. In other words, they were the immortal lords of the human race. There were actually 100,000 of such soldier souls here at this moment. 100,000 profound-grade soldier souls were equivalent to 100,000 demon saints. TSK, TSK. If this power were to erupt, it could destroy the world. They would kill gods and Buddhas. As for the earth-grade soldier souls, they were comparable to ancient giants and sky demons. There were actually a total of 18 of them here. This power was simply earth-shattering. Even if ancient giants were to see it, their first thought would be to immediately turn around and flee. It was too terrifying. And these soldier souls were all standing in the city like statues. Shitian. A hint of worry flashed through Chen Shi's eyes. He said, "The power contained in these soldier souls is too domineering. Although it is temporarily sealed by the sealing power of the ancient bridge. I'm afraid this seal will not last long. Once they broke through the seal and woke up, their minds would be filled with nothing but killing. The entire demon city will be massacred." She had witnessed the terror of the soldier souls with her own eyes. They were so powerful. Immeasurable. However, there was a huge hidden danger in front of them. If they could not be recovered, they would be a ticking time bomb here. Soldier souls. Di Shitian glanced at the sealed soldier souls and a bright light flashed in his eyes. He said calmly, "Since I have captured these soldier souls, I naturally have great use for them." Great use. Chen Shi said doubtfully, "The soldier souls are born from countless killing auras. They only have the obsession to kill and it is almost inextinguishable. I only heard that the soldier souls are the best material in the world to refine puppets. However, due to the obsession to kill in their consciousness, they cannot be controlled. Even if they are refined into puppets, they will suffer from the backlash." There was deep curiosity in his words. Although he was doubtful, he understood that since Di Shitian dared to say this, he must have a certain level of confidence. He was not speaking without thinking. Sakra's face suddenly revealed a meaningful look. His eyes were deep and his voice was slightly hoarse. He raised his head to look at the void and said, "Perhaps others can't do anything to the soldier's soul, but I have a way to make them all swear allegiance to me. This time, I will use them to create an invincible soldier class for the demon city, the Terracotta Army." When he said the last 3 words, the entire air was suddenly filled with a fierce killing aura. It was as if the surroundings had turned into an ancient battlefield in an instant. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 562. Terracotta Army. Just 3 simple words could cause the air to be filled with a tragic aura. It was as if one was in an ancient battlefield. At the same time, Di Shitian's thoughts seemed to have passed through the boundaries of time and space, appearing in a distant time and space. He personally witnessed the majestic aura of the Terracotta Army. Unknowingly, it awakened the memories that were buried in the depths of his memory. Terracotta Army. In his previous life, Di Shitian had personally witnessed the majesty of the Terracotta Army. It could be said to be one of the miraculous Terracotta Army in the world. The arrival of the Terracotta Army was even more fascinating. Legend had it that during the Qin dynasty, Qin Shi Huang unified the world and was known as the first emperor. As an emperor, he naturally had the dream of immortality. He chased after the elixir of immortality. However, when he chased after immortality, he also made plans for what would happen after his death. He wanted to build the majestic tomb of the first emperor. He created numerous terracotta soldiers and placed them in the underground palace so that after the first emperor died, these terracotta soldiers could still accompany him to dominate the netherworld. Protect the tomb. There was also a saying that the terracotta soldiers and horses were made from the bodies of dead soldiers. The majestic appearance of the terracotta soldiers and horses revealed the might of the Qin dynasty's army that dominated the four directions. It showed the invincible strength of the Qin dynasty. As an emperor, Qin Shi Huang was almost unsurpassable in his life. Who in the world did not desire the terracotta soldiers to follow him underground? To look down on the 9 continents? Qin Shi Huang, your terracotta soldiers are just dead things. Although they are invincible, they are unable to fight for you. This time, I will use these soldiers to create 100,000 terracotta soldiers. To become an invincible soldier type. Anyone who hears about the terracotta soldiers in the world will be terrified. Let this be the last bit of hope I have for my previous life. Although Sakra's entire mind had traveled through the void and returned to the distant ancient times of his previous life, he let out an invisible sigh towards the heavens. He retracted his gaze and looked at the 100,000 soldiers standing in the 1,000 demon city. He said solemnly, "Terracotta soldiers, I will make them into terracotta soldiers. I will not use clay. I will use god crystals to make them into terracotta soldiers, to create a body. I will use the slave seal to make all the soldiers loyal to me." The terracotta soldiers were made from divine crystals, and the divine crystals were condensed from my power of faith. The bodies of the terracotta warriors contain my power of faith. Using the power of will to move them. The soldier soul and the divine crystal fused together completely. He will definitely be loyal to me. I want to create 18 terracotta generals. I want to create an invincible army. Every word he spoke was powerful and forceful. It gave people a feeling of deep trust. One could not help but imagine what kind of inconceivable scene it would be when a peerless and invincible terracotta soldier appeared before one's eyes. The soldiers' souls were their souls, the divine crystals were used to forge their bodies, the power of faith was used to refine their minds, and the 100-generation slave imprint was used to make them loyal. Coupled with their murderous nature. Once the invincible combat power was truly completed, it would truly be an invincible troop class that would cause the entire universe to tremble. Its power was almost immeasurable. How powerful would that be? When Chen Shi heard this, he could not help but imagine it in his mind. He could not help but be secretly shocked. Using the divine crystals, which were almost indestructible, to forge a body, coupled with the combat power of the soldiers' souls, the power that it could unleash was really unimaginable. It could definitely shock the entire world. Good. 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 Lunatic DI, you are indeed a lunatic. You actually thought of creating such a terrifying troop class. Once you create it, my goodness, the demon city will rise unstoppably in the future. Once the demon city is completed, what it lacks is a group of powerful combat power. If there is this batch of terracotta soldiers in the world, who would dare to stroke the tiger's whiskers? Kill. 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 Kill all of them. Ming waved his dragon claws crazily in the nether prison, his dragon eyes flashing with a cold and fierce light. He was also stimulated by the scene described by Di Shitian. Who, listen to my orders. Immediately give the order to create the terracotta soldier model. Start creating the terracotta soldiers with all your might. Every time one is created, immediately send the soldier's soul into the terracotta soldier. Yes, Your Majesty. Who accepted the order. He also went down with a face full of yearning. He quickly began to prepare to cast the terracotta soldiers. For a time, the entire demon city was extremely busy. Countless members of the demon clan could not even stop walking. They were counting the treasures and preparing to cast the terracotta soldiers. It directly caused more than 20 million demons in the Linglong Pagoda to be completely busy. Di Shitian took a deep breath and nodded to himself. 18 Earth-stage soldiers' souls meant that in the future, there would be 18 terracotta generals in the Demon City, 18 ancient giants, guarding the Demon City, directly turning the Demon City into the most terrifying place in the world. Anyone who dared to come and offend would suffer an unimaginable blow. Report. Outside, a demon soldier entered the pagoda and hurriedly rushed in front of Di Shitian. This demon soldier was a scout who had been sent outside to patrol and investigate the surrounding situation. How's the situation outside? Did you discover any valuable information in the surroundings? Sakura swept a glance at the demon soldier with a dignified expression and inquired. The situation outside was also a problem that he had to pay attention to. Reporting to your majesty, this subordinate flew outside for 1,000 miles and did not see any living creatures. There were no animals, and everywhere was silent. There was no danger. Moreover, according to the detection, there are a large number of heavenly treasures and a large number of spirit ores in this world, and there is a need to mine. This little demon immediately reported the results of the detection. It sounded that there were no living birds or beasts in this world, which was a little strange. However, at least, there was no danger for the time being. Moreover, there were countless heavenly treasures and rare spirit ores left in this world. It was definitely a treasure land. If it was mined, it would definitely bring a huge amount of wealth. Why was there no life in such a treasure land? Logically speaking, it was impossible for there to be no life in such a world full of vitality. Even if there were countless demons, it would be a very normal thing. But the strange thing was that there was none of this. This was worth pondering. Thoughts quickly ran through his mind, but he immediately had a plan. He looked at the little demon in front of him and order the rat clan to immediately leave the pagoda and start mining and collecting heavenly treasures. Be vigilant at all times. If there is any situation, report it immediately. Yes. The million-strong army of the rat clan immediately rushed out of the pagoda and entered the strange world outside. Using their ancestral skills, they quickly dug underground and began to excavate spirit ores. They collected heavenly treasures and sent them into the pagoda. Although they had obtained a huge amount of wealth, the more the better. No one would complain about having too many treasures. Every new treasure was an indispensable part of the Demon City's foundation. Especially refining divine crystals, it was almost like a bottomless pit that could not be filled no matter how much it was filled. Di Shitian's eyes turned and murmured, this time in the Crimson Tide, the Rock Demon King and the others all followed to plunder. They must have obtained a lot of wealth. At this time, if I open the trading market again and exchange for items for them, I believe that they will take out some treasures that they don't need to exchange for demon coins. If I issue another mission, exchanging abandoned magic treasures and weapons for demon coins, each item will be exchanged for 10 demon coins. I believe that the group of demons will not be stingy in exchanging those scraps that they don't need for demon coins. A few thoughts flashed through his mind, and all kinds of plans immediately appeared. This kind of plan was not to plot against them, but a mutually beneficial way. After all, the abandoned magic treasures were useless in their hands. They would not even take up space if they carried them on their bodies. If they could really exchange them for demon coins, they might be overjoyed. Demon coins had long been invisibly integrated into the lives of the demon clan. The promotion was smooth and there were no additional costs. The currency was truly unified. After making a certain plan for all kinds of things, Di Shitian 3 days later, he entered the 4th level of the exquisite pagoda. Inside, time and space would reverse 150 times. 1 year outside was equivalent to 150 years inside. Seclusion. Di Shitian was going to completely seclude himself this time. The battles he had gone through in the Godsfall Abyss had pushed him to the peak of his cultivation. The power in his body was below the source of life. It had already filled the entire 5th grade Black Lotus. In addition, the 4 talismans were constantly swallowing the Yuan Qi in the void, which greatly increased the speed of the true power in his body. At this moment, relying on the comprehension of battle, his body was in a peak state. It was the best time to break through the demon vein. Among the 13 demon veins in his body, 4 had been completely opened. Moreover, in the 4 demon veins, 9 Emperor's true apertures were opened. The 4 demon veins were happiness, anger, sorrow, and taste. The remaining 9 demon veins were blocked by the divine splendor in Chen Shi's body. They were filled with divine splendor. If he did not refine the divine splendor and open the demon veins, he would not be able to break through to the 5th transformation of the demon core. Di Shitian stepped into the 4th level of the exquisite pagoda and casually found an empty space to sit cross-legged. He took a deep breath and thought to himself, the 4 demon veins in my body and the 36 Emperor's true apertures have all been opened and connected. The 4th volume of the Emperor's Shocking World book has been completed. It was time to break through the 5th demon vein. However, this time, the divine splendor filled the demon veins. It will not be as easy as last time. I have to break through the divine splendor and use its power to condense the Emperor's true aperture. Moreover, I have to condense the 1st Emperor's true aperture to know which of the 7 emotions and 6 desires the 5th demon vein contains. As he thought to himself, he immediately closed his eyes and his consciousness entered his body. After inspecting his flesh and blood, he found that there was a constant surge of power in his flesh and blood. A huge amount of essence qi was exuding vigorous vitality. The blood that flowed in his body was actually faintly tinged with golden light. Even his blood was beginning to transform. After entering the demon residence, he scanned his surroundings and appeared in the sky above the 5th grade Black Lotus. The 3rd update has arrived. Everyone, give it to me. I will give it to you too. Brothers, give it to me. Monthly votes. Give them to the demons if you have any. Tomorrow, the 3rd update will continue. I am not fighting for explosive power. I am fighting for endurance. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 563. Within the Grade 5 Black Lotus, the original Grade 4 Black Lotus had already completely fused together. There was no barrier between them. Waves of desire surged into the Grade 5 Black Lotus. As the Black Lotus rotated, it was continuously converted into royal true force, increasing the cultivation base of the Grade 5 Black Lotus. However, its luster was dim. Inside, it did not absorb any kind of desire energy. It was still empty like a sealed box. It existed independently and did not really integrate with the whole Black Lotus. It looked like the Black Lotus in front of him was a 5th grade. In fact, its real power was only at the peak of the 4th grade. The situation before him was actually the most normal situation. The 5th grade would store a new kind of power of desire. It was the 5th grade desire power. In the past, the first 3 had already been passed. He only needed to go through the test of the realm of desire and create the 9 Huangji true acupoints one by one. Then, he could cultivate each level to perfection. But now, the divine essence filled the demon vein. The demon vein could not absorb new desire power. Only by breaking through and refining the divine essence could he create new Huangji true acupoints on the new demon vein. Then, with the help of the true acupoints, he could absorb new desire power and pour it into the 5th grade Black Lotus. Once the desire power filled the 5th grade Black Lotus, it would trigger the test of the realm of desire. Once passed, the Black Lotus would merge with each other and become one. He would officially step into the 5th transformation of the demon core. The Black Lotus would once again transform into a 6th grade Black Lotus. Now, in my Black Lotus primordial spirit, for supernatural powers have reached perfection. These 4 supernatural power talismans absorb vitality and strengthen the talismans. When my demon core reaches the 9th transformation and breaks through the bottleneck to become a demon saint, my Black Lotus primordial spirit will transform into a Black Lotus primordial spirit. These 4 supernatural power talismans will also transform into supernatural power seeds. The supernatural powers will reach perfection. 10 years later, it will be the time when the 100 races return. At that time, The entire source continent will undergo earth-shattering changes. There will be a huge revolution. If my cultivation can't increase, I'm afraid the entire demon race will be enslaved and tortured. A thought flowed through his mind. He shouted inwardly, Huangji true force, Emperor Dao, Dao of desire. Break through the thorns. Break through the pulse. With a thought, the grade 5 black lotus in the Yarrow refining cauldron began to spin violently. On the surface of the black lotus, mysterious runes glowed with strange black light, floated up, and danced around the black lotus. A burst of golden-yellow true power gushed out from the black lotus like a rolling river. Rushing out of the demon manor, Zhongxian began traversing through the 4 demonic veins that he had already cleared. In the blink of an eye, he was already standing before the 5th demonic vein. Lin Fan could see that the 5th demonic vein was filled with a 7-colored divine splendor. It was like a crystal that completely blocked the entire demonic vein. Within the divine splendor, it exuded the true essence of an instant of eternity. This was the innate divine ability that Chen Shi was born with, fleeting youth. It exuded a strange charm. This charm was almost identical to the aura of the eternal light that he had seen in the kingdom of eternity. However, one contained the true meaning of eternity in an instant, while the other was immortal in eternity. There would be no change in eternity. Time and space would remain immortal. Both of them contained the true meaning of eternity. However, they seemed to be 2 completely different extremes. When he sensed the charm of the divine spirit, Di Shitian's mind seemed to have been struck by lightning, and he had a flash of inspiration. He said, Fleeting youth is eternal. If I send this divine splendor into the divine eye of heaven's punishment, and let the divine eye absorb the power of this moment, comprehend the laws, and merge them together, wouldn't I have a chance to obtain the fleeting youth unique to Xie? Fleeting youth was eternal. It contained the true meaning of time, and was one of the most wonderful and heaven-defying divine abilities between heaven and earth. Its power was so strong that it could control a person's life to bloom in an instant, and wither away like a fleeting youth. He quickly thought about the benefits he could get by doing this. In an instant, he made a decision. If I use this divine splendor to open the imperial true aperture, it would be like using a butcher's knife to kill a pig. Although the divine splendor and heaven's punishment may not give birth to a new divine ability, there is at least a 50% chance. It's worth a gamble. If I succeed, I can obtain the power of an instant. Even if I fail, I will only lose a portion of the divine splendor. The decision of which was more important was made in an instant. Pulse breaking. Boom boom boom. All of this took a long time to describe, but in fact, it happened in the blink of an eye. Di Shitian had already made a decision in his heart. Immediately, without hesitation, the imperial true force condensed together and turned into a long awl. It fiercely rushed towards the 5th demon vein, and hit the solidified divine splendor crystal in the demon vein. Suddenly, the divine splendor crystal burst out with an extremely strong potential, blocking the imperial true force and emitting a 7-colored halo, preventing it from moving forward. The strong resistance made it difficult for the imperial true force to move forward. Pulse breaking. Pulse breaking. The first attempt failed, but he wasn't discouraged. If the demonic veins could be broken so easily, then all those years ago, he wouldn't have been able to block the invasion of the force of desire and instantly seal all the demonic veins in his body, awakening him from his trance. If the first time is not enough, I will try twice. If the second time is not enough, I will try thrice. Di Shitian focused his mind and urged the imperial true force to rush towards the demon vein again and again, continuously hitting the tough divine splendor crystal. Furthermore, he did not use all of his power at once, but directly split the imperial true force into 3 parts. When the first part failed, immediately, the second part took over and rushed forward. The cycle was endless, and the continuous impact was endless. Patience. Di Shitian was never lacking in patience. Outside his body, countless pores opened up, emitting a strong devouring power, continuously pulling the surrounding heaven and earth origin chi into his body. The void above his head turned pitch black, and the power of desire poured into Di Shitian's body like a funnel. In the process of breaking the demon veins, not only was the Imperial True Force not depleted, but as time passed, it became stronger and stronger. During the impact, its power became more and more vigorous. Boom, boom, boom. Finally, after a few thousand consecutive impacts, catcher, cracks began to appear on the divine crystals that were blocking the demonic veins. Under the impact of the Emperor's true force, these cracks quickly grew larger and began to emit bursts of rainbow-colored glaze-like brilliance. The divine splendor was refined, crushed, and turned into drops of rainbow-colored liquid. These drops of divine splendor were immediately wrapped by the Imperial True Force and sent into the Heaven's Punishment Divine Eye. For a moment, the purple-gold eyes of the Heaven's Punishment Divine Eye had traces of rainbow-colored light flowing. A mysterious Tao rhyme was integrated into the Heaven's Punishment Divine Eye. However, if he wanted the Heaven's Punishment Divine Eye to give birth to a new remarkable power, this was simply a drop in the bucket. Refine, Imperial True Force, melt the divine splendor for me. The 5th grade Black Lotus began to circulate faster and faster. In an instant, it had doubled in speed. The true force that surged out was even more ferocious. The blocked demon vein was opened. Immediately, like a raging fire, it could not be suppressed. Drops of divine splendor were constantly refined and integrated into the Heaven's Punishment Divine Eye. The loosening of the divine splendor immediately caused the 5th demon vein to begin to awaken. Boom, boom, boom. The demonic meridian gave off a powerful attractive force, causing the sea of desire above his head to surge into the demonic meridian. And the moment it entered his body, Sakra had already understood that this new power of desire before his eyes was actually see. Of the 6 desires, it was the desire to see. The desire to see was a desire to peep. When a person was curious and moved, it would naturally lead to desire. The desire to peep was unavoidable. The eyes were the window to the soul. The eyes were also the source of the desire to see. One wanted to see beautiful scenery and the natural posture of flying birds. This was unavoidable, unless you lost your sight and became completely blind. Perhaps only then could he avoid it. Once the demonic vein was opened, this new power of desire immediately surged into his body like a tidal wave. After flowing through the demonic vein, it entered the demonic abode. Like a swallow returning to its nest, it entered the previously empty 5th rank of the Black Lotus. As soon as he entered, he saw that the originally dim and lightless Black Lotus of the 5th grade immediately emitted bursts of black light. Waves of desire surged in like a tide. Good. 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 When I create the first Emperor's true aperture, I can make this absorption speed even faster. Di Shitian's heart was calm. Once again, he sped up the refining of the divine essence. Every time he refined a drop, he sent it directly into the divine punishment. This refining lasted for a whole month. Finally, 1/9 of the divine essence that filled the 5th demonic vein was refined. Then, he stopped refining. Using the unique method in the Book of the Emperor Shocking the World, he began to nourish the demonic vein. Small branches appeared on the demonic vein and quickly spread into the surrounding flesh and blood. The intersection between these branches and the main demonic vein was the acupuncture point. With regards to opening apertures, Sakra was already very familiar with it. However, it took him a month to complete it. Once the Emperor's true aperture was opened, the speed of the absorption of the power of desire suddenly increased by more than 10 times. The vast power of desire continued to enter the Black Lotus. Time flashed, and a year passed quietly. Outside his body, the boundless power of desire strangely disappeared without a trace. His eyes, which were originally closed, opened. There was a flash of light in his eyes. He said coldly, "Ming, did the divine souls of the human race that we plundered in the Godsfall Abyss hand over their cultivation methods?" "Hee, lunatic Di, don't worry. With me, Ming, around, no matter how stubborn this world is, it will be chiseled open. Some people can't withstand the punishment and have begun to spit out the cultivation methods they know," Ming said without humility. "Also, I've found the way to cultivate the perfect world seed. Now that your body is full of power of desire, as long as you enter the state of desire, you can break through at any time. Now is the best time to cultivate the world seed. Today's first update has been delivered. Brothers, let's do it. We were raped last night. Although we are still on the monthly vote list, the gap is not big. Everyone, help us up. Those who have monthly votes, help us. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidyen.com, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 564. Good. In order to obtain a perfect world seed, it was worth it no matter how great the price was. I have hundreds of thousands of life source seeds. I don't believe I can't nurture a perfect world seed. Di Shitien's eyes flashed with a ruthless glint. If a high-grade world seed could give birth to a divine item, then a perfect world seed would definitely give birth to a divine item. If a divine item was born, then his inner world would definitely become stronger at an unimaginable speed. The benefits were immeasurable. Isn't it just a life source seed? I don't have anything else, but I have as many life source seeds as I want. I don't believe I can't nurture a perfect world seed with thousands or even tens of thousands of life source seeds. TSK, I'm really looking forward to it. An ordinary world source seed is enough to make countless experts scramble for it. If it's a perfect world source seed, how shocking would that be? I'm afraid if this spread out, even peerless experts would be tempted. Dark said with a strange voice, "Good, I'll pass the method to nurture a world source seed to you." That madman from ancient times used this method to nurture a mid-grade source seed into a high-grade source seed. After opening up his inner world, he even gave birth to a divine item. However, how could that madman's wealth compare to yours? In this world, apart from the tree of life, Sakura was the only one who had the most source of life in this world. Sakura had the terrifying amount of source of life in the hundreds of thousands. Speaking of who could nurture a perfect world seed, who else could it be but him? With a flash of bloody light, Dark transmitted the method to nurture a world seed into Di Shitien's mind. There wasn't much information inside, so he quickly skimmed through it in an instant. Life altar. Seeing this, Sakura's eyes couldn't help but widen in astonishment. He was a little frightened, but with his temperament, he quickly regained his composure and murmured, "Madman, he is indeed a madman. He actually wants to use a pure life source to refine an altar. Although the altar is only the size of a human head, it would require at least thousands of life source seeds to refine it." What an astonishing amount of wealth. He couldn't help but sigh inwardly. The person who had thought of cultivating the world seed was indeed a madman. Just one altar alone required thousands of life source seeds. This number was simply an unimaginable amount of wealth. Even the top 10 immortal sects would definitely not be able to take out such a sum. And all of this was just to refine an altar. On the altar, there were 108 grooves for the source of life. This was equivalent to putting in 108 source seeds at once. Who in the world could support such a consumption? The refining method was not complicated. Even Di Shitien could easily refine it. No wonder there has never been a perfect world source seed in this world. With this kind of consumption, even an unparalleled expert would instantly go bankrupt and become a pauper, Di Shitien said bitterly. It was unknown how many source seeds he would have to consume this time. Even he felt the pinch. TSK, lunatic emperor. In this world, only you have the ability to do such a thing. Hurry up, I can't wait to see what the perfect world source seed looks like. Underworld licked his lips and couldn't help but urge. Let's do it. Di Shitien gritted his teeth slightly and a determined expression appeared on his face. He didn't hesitate anymore. He waved his long sleeves. Instantly, in front of him, treasure boxes made of jade flew out from his storage ring one after another. In each treasure box, there were 100 source seeds of life. A total of 100 jade boxes flew out. In other words, there were 10,000 source seeds of life. Heaven punishment divine eye open. Di Shitien stretched out his hand and touched his forehead. Instantly, on the purple mark between his eyebrows, a purple light flashed rapidly and quickly separated into two sides. A purple gold eye glanced indifferently at everyone. Heaven, punishment, divine flame. Kai kai. From the divine eye, a divine light burst out. It didn't spread out. Instead, it condensed in front of him and turned into a ball of purple flame. This ball of purple flame naturally revealed a vast divine power. Heaven, punishment, divine flame, smelt the source seeds for me. Di Shitian opened the jade clouds one by one. With a wave of his hand, 100 jade-green source seeds of life immediately landed on the divine flame. The source seeds of life contained boundless vitality. However, under the refinement of the divine flame, there was no hesitation at all. They quickly melted. As they melted, the vitality contained in them didn't dissipate at all. The 100 source seeds turned into liquid one after another and fused together. They formed a ball of jade-green liquid. Di Shitian's 10 fingers, however, instantly turned into countless after-images as they moved rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he condensed many hand seals and struck them into the ball of liquid. They turned into countless mysterious talismans and merged into the ball of liquid. One by one, the jade boxes were sent into the divine flame and melted into liquid. Not long after, when 2,000 source seeds were sent in, Di Shitian quickly formed hand seals and pulled out countless beautiful after-images and struck them into the ball of liquid. Boom, boom, boom. There was no abnormality. The ball of liquid magically turned into a small altar the size of a human head amidst the jade-green divine light. On the altar, countless mysterious jade-green talismans constantly emitted beautiful colors. In this small altar, there was a huge wealth of 2,000 source seeds. Source seed of the world. With a flip of his hand, a light flashed in his hand and an ancient jade box landed on his palm. He gently opened it. In the jade box, there was a seed that looked like a crystal. It emitted a transparent crystal luster and was the size of a thumb. On the seed, there were veins that seemed to contain profound paths. Between the lines, there was a vague fluctuation of space. It was so perfect that it didn't look like a seed at all. Instead, it looked like a beautiful piece of art. It gave people a feeling of liking at first glance. This was a low-grade source seed of the world. Lunatic Di, quick, try to see if this life altar has any effect. If I'm not wrong, then according to that lunatic's estimation, it would require at least 108 source seeds to upgrade from low grade to high grade. To upgrade from medium grade to high grade, it would require 1,080 source seeds. It would increase by 10 times. To upgrade from high grade to perfect grade, it would require 1,800 source seeds. Dark shouted excitedly. His 2 dragon eyes were filled with anticipation. Ooh! When Sakura heard this, his breath was completely stuck in his chest, unable to come out. His heart also stopped abruptly. Even he was frightened by that huge number. However, a look of determination flashed across his face. No matter how big the price is, I have to give it a try. He made up his mind and placed the life altar in front of him. He quickly took out the source seeds of life and inserted them into the grooves. Then, he placed the source seed of the world in the center of the altar. The power of life, nurturing all things, the power of creation. The sublimation of the world. With a serious expression, Di Shitian quickly formed mysterious seals and imprinted them on the life altar. Boom! Boom! At this moment, the life altar seemed to have come to life. The altar that was originally on the ground suddenly radiated resplendent divine light. Strands of jade-green light constantly shot out, rising into the air and floating in the air. Countless jade-green talismans flashed on the surface of the altar. It emitted a strange Tao aura. It was as if there was an inconceivable power coming from the altar. The aura coming from the altar was not ordinary at all. It was an incomparably intimate feeling, as if one had met their mother. It contained endless paths, and it was as if the entire world was being reborn from this power. It contained the true essence of life. The power of creation. This is the power of creation. What a pure power of creation. So that's how it is. The life altar's function is to reverse the power of life into the power of creation, the mother of all things. This is a mighty power that can create the world. If this power of creation is injected into the source seed of the world, it will cleanse the impurities within. It will elevate it. It can really elevate the quality of the source seed instantly. Di Shitian's eyes widened on the spot. It was as if a bolt of lightning had flashed through his mind. The power of creation was not an ordinary power. Even a trace of it was enough to give life to a corpse. It could mold mud into all kinds of life forms. It could create things out of nothing. Unbelievable. His eyes stared at the altar in the air without blinking. He saw that the altar was emitting endless power of creation. The power of creation was quickly injected into the source seed of the world on the altar. Immediately, the source seed of the world emitted a dazzling crystal light. Moreover, the light became softer and softer as the power of creation flowed in. There was a beauty in the light that made one worried. It became rounder and rounder. Not a single flaw could be found on it. The mysterious patterns on the seed also became clearer and clearer. If the patterns were very simple before, they could be clearly seen now. These patterns contained profound principles. Woo woo woo. At this moment, a strange wailing sound suddenly came from the air. In the sky, above the altar, terrifying black clouds quickly appeared and spread out in all directions in an instant. They covered the entire sky. It caused the entire world to suddenly darken. Catcher. Strands of terrifying lightning quickly shuttled through the clouds, as if there were millions of silver snakes wildly dancing in the clouds. Waves of pressure that seemed like the heavenly Tao surged out from all directions, pressing down on the life altar. Heavenly tribulation. Di Shitian looked up at the terrifying clouds and frowned. The source seed of the world's metamorphosis has attracted the heavenly tribulation. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Sigh, my buddy came to me just now. He broke up with his girlfriend and planned to go to the bar. I was worried about him, so I had no choice but to accompany him. There is no third update today. However, it will still be the third update tomorrow. This is an accident. I will fight until the end this month. Brothers, let's do it. Let's increase the monthly votes. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 565. The appearance of the heavenly tribulation was beyond Di Shitian's expectations. However, on second thought, it was understandable. The source seed of the world was an unparalleled treasure between heaven and earth. It was a mystical treasure that could give birth to one's inner world. Any one of these treasures could arouse the desire of countless people and cause them to fight to the death for it. Having an inner world and not having one were two completely different things. An inner world was a necessary threshold to become an unparalleled expert. It was a ticket. This was because when an ancient powerhouse broke through to become an unparalleled expert, the entire world would reject him. At that moment, he would not be able to borrow any power from the outside world. It was as if the entire world wanted to crush him. This was because what he had to do was to transcend the 6 paths of reincarnation and break free from the restraints of the heavenly axiom. Jump out of the 6 paths and 5 elements. He had to be on par with the heavenly axiom. He had to become an existence that even the heavenly axiom could not kill. Let me ask you, how can this piece of heaven and earth contain you? If it could not tolerate him, he would be killed. The moment he broke through to become an unparalleled expert, the entire world would judge him and launch a heavenly punishment. If he could not break free from the restraints and shatter the vacuum, he would be crushed by the world and completely annihilated. At that time, he would not be able to borrow any power. He could only rely on himself and how much he had accumulated. It would determine whether he could break free from the restraints. At that time, the support of an inner world could be estimated how important it was to have an inner world. At the crucial moment, he could even burn the world in exchange for supreme power. Every single one of these treasures was a unique treasure. They were treasures that could not be exchanged for even with wealth. Such a rare treasure was actually going to be upgraded and transformed. This was simply going against the will of the heavens. It was going against the operation of the heavenly axiom. For such a thing, the world would naturally sense it and send down a heavenly tribulation to completely destroy and erase this thing that should not exist. 5 elements heavenly tribulation. Di Shitian glanced at the tribulation cloud above his head and saw that it was changing rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a 5-colored tribulation cloud. The flashing lightning in the tribulation cloud also had different colors. A terrifying pressure surged out from the tribulation cloud like a landslide. The pressure froze the entire air as if an ancient ferocious beast was preying on its prey. It was glaring. Ordinary ancient demon monarchs would be pressed to the ground by such pressure. He couldn't move at all. Only greater demons would be able to withstand it. However, Di Shitian was no ordinary demon king. He had the Tao of Emperor and the Tao of Desire in his body. He cultivated the Book of the Shocking Emperor, which gave him the aura of a supreme emperor. When he stood on the ground, he was indomitable, and no one in the world could make him bow. He coldly glanced at the tribulation clouds. A ray of light flashed in his hand, and a jet-black jade zither appeared in front of him. The 7 sins demonic zither had been nurtured in the demonic abode, constantly absorbing the power of desire. At this moment, the demonic zither was completely filled. The power of desire flowed like water in the zither, creating ripples. On the body of the zither, a yellow earth spirit bead and a green wood spirit bead were perfectly embedded on the sides of the zither. The 9 strings on the zither had been replaced long ago. The dragon's tendons were not as good as silk, and were more suitable for making zither strings. For this, Sky Silkworm directly contributed the 10,000-year-old Sky Silkworm silk that he had collected for countless years. This was the best zither string material, second only to the purple gold jade silk. After the replacement, the power of the jade zither increased imperceptibly. The power of the middle-grade magic treasure demonic zither was comparable to that of a superior-grade magic treasure. Now it had reached a kind of bottleneck, reaching the peak of middle-grade magic treasure, and was about to start upgrading. As long as another spirit bead of heaven and earth was found, the 7 sins demonic zither would instantly upgrade to a superior-grade magic treasure. And once again control a new kind of origin power. TSK, the 7 sins demonic zither is not simple. It is said that in the ancient times, the group of cursemoncers who cultivated curses joined forces with countless powerhouses and deduced for tens of thousands of years before they could deduce a supreme treasure. It was to match the mysterious movement between heaven and earth that existed since ancient times, but no one knew its origin, the 7 sins divine melody. And it was tailor-made. The 9 strings corresponded to the 9 spirit beads of heaven and earth. Once gathered, with the power of the 9 spirit beads, it would instantly transform the 7 sins demonic zither and achieve the most incredible thing in heaven and earth. Turning chaos, reversing the acquired to the innate. It would create a miracle in heaven and earth, and upgrade an acquired spiritual treasure to an innate spiritual treasure. TSK, those guys are really a bunch of lunatics. Ming let out a strange cry and sighed with emotion. Her words couldn't help but reveal a wisp of dense fear and detest. She'd suffered a painful lesson, and it was those old curse masters who'd caused her to be confined within the heavenly tribulation at this moment. Reversing the acquired to the innate was something that even peerless powerhouses couldn't do. This group of cursemoncers actually dared to think of a way to use the origin power of the 9 spirit beads to reverse the innate. This kind of idea was really amazing. However, there was no lack of reason. There was a possibility of success. After all, the 9 spirit beads were born by heaven and earth, and each one was an unparalleled treasure, more precious and rare than the source seed of the world. In fact, the 9 spirit beads had the ability to replace the source seed of the world, and use it as the source seed on the spot to open up a world inside. According to the attribute, the water spirit bead could open up a world that completely belonged to water. And so on. It was wonderful. But it was really a waste. It was a waste of natural resources. The 9 spirit beads formed heaven and earth, and nurtured all things. Once the 9 spirit beads were gathered, it was possible to reverse the universe, reverse the chaos, and let the 7 sins demonic zither give birth to the power of chaos, and use the power of chaos to cleanse the zither, and reverse the acquired to the innate. There was almost a 50% chance. Reverse to the innate. A strange look flashed across Di Shitian's face, but he didn't lose himself because of it. He just remembered it in his heart and shook his head. Let's talk about these things later, now is not the time to care about it. Let's deal with this heavenly tribulation first. That's right, you have to be careful. Although the life altar can convert the power of life into the power of creation and upgrade the source seed of the world, the altar itself doesn't have any defensive power. Once it is hit by the heavenly tribulation, it will immediately be turned into dust, and even the source seed of the world will be damaged on the spot. You can only rely on yourself to deal with this heavenly tribulation. Ming threw out another piece of bad news. Whoever wants to destroy the sacrificial altar, this king will kill that person. Di Shitian's eyes flashed with a cold glint. His gaze toward the heavenly tribulation was filled with indifference. With a wave of his hand, the numinous sky throne appeared behind him. He sat on the throne and directly flew into the air, floating above the life altar. The 7 sins demonic zither appeared in front of him. Light flashed on it. Clang clang. His 10 slender fingers were placed on the zither strings, and his fingers were filled with tension as he casually plucked the strings. Suddenly, a rush of zither music suddenly sounded, and there was a fierce murderous aura in the music. Every sound of the zither seemed to be able to stir up the blood in the listener's body, causing it to boil violently. As soon as the sound of the zither started, his 10 fingers immediately turned into an illusion, and the strings rippled like waves. In the sound of the zither, a fierce murderous aura swept out in all directions like a tide. Suddenly, it made people feel as if the things in front of them had changed, as if they were in an ancient battlefield where flesh and blood were fighting. The song of slaughter, kill the wolf, boom boom boom. Between heaven and earth, there was the sound of a strong army of killing. Swords whistled, horses neighed, and iron hooves trampled mountains and rivers. The murderous aura pierced through the sun and the moon, shaking the stars. As the sound of the zither became more and more urgent, suddenly, a huge ancient battlefield appeared outside his body. Di Shitian sat on the numinous sky throne, overseeing the battlefield. On the battlefield, countless soldiers and horses appeared, wearing armor, holding weapons, and standing proudly below them. Countless soldiers exuded a strong murderous aura. Even their eyes were blood-red. The horses below them were not ordinary horses, but pagazi with wings on their backs. Orderly square formations were arranged in front of them. Kill, kill, kill. Under Di Shitian's command, this army of 100,000 flew into the air, roaring and charging toward the tribulation clouds in the sky. Under the magical power of 7 sins, their armor was supported by the power of the earth spirit bead, and their bodies had the toughness of the wood spirit bead. In addition, the sound waves were extremely sharp. The ability to cut through heaven and earth. This army of 100,000 was simply an unstoppable killing army. Crack. The tribulation clouds also reacted in an instant. Countless golden swords and golden sabers fell down crazily like snowflakes. Among these sabers and weapons, countless terrifying electric lights jumped violently, and when they fell, the space under the sabers was easily cut into terrifying cracks. The flashing electric lights on them directly annihilated the void. Terrifying. This time, the 5 elements' heavenly tribulation appeared in the form of sabers and weapons. This kind of attack was even more terrifying than thunder and lightning. The attack power was unparalleled. It was so overwhelming that no one could avoid it. Boom boom boom. However, Di Shitian's Kill and Break the Wolf was a zither song that was born for killing. It condensed images in the void with the zither intent. It was an even more shocking method. Every warrior was born for killing. It had incredible destructive power. The two collided with each other, and suddenly, a terrifying destructive power erupted. The chi of heaven and earth collapsed, and lightning shuttled everywhere in the void. The power of the 5 elements' heavenly tribulation was completely displayed, annihilating a part of the void. If other monster kings were in this situation, they would probably be killed on the spot. Even the great monsters' expressions changed. The soldiers advanced dauntlessly, waving the weapons in their hands, and killing shook the sky. The weapons that filled the sky were shattered one by one, and many were instantly crushed into powder by the bombardment of the weapons. However, these soldiers were almost unstoppable under the support of the 2 spirit beads. They cut open a path, rushed into the tribulation clouds, and slashed wildly, and domineeringly scattered the tribulation clouds. Kill and break the wolf against the heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation, disperse. TSK TSK. This killing song of yours is really powerful. The higher your cultivation base, the more powerful the song will be. The sound wave technique is shapeless and intangible. If you can cultivate it to a high level, it will indeed have unparalleled and terrifying power. Dark praised. However, Di Shitian was not in such a good mood. He looked at the dissipating tribulation clouds in silence. Heavenly tribulation? This was probably just a premonition. I had something to do last night, so I couldn't finish the 3rd update. It's my fault. I apologize here. I will definitely finish the 3rd update today. I beg for votes. Those who have monthly votes, please help me. Don't be attacked by others. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidien.com, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 566. Heavenly Tribulation. Di Shitian looked at the life altar and saw that the enormous power of creation had all surged into the source seed of the world in the middle of the altar. There were mysterious patterns on the source seed of the world, and each of them seemed to contain infinite principles. Among them, there were traces of the path of heaven and earth. The source seed of the world had evolved to the middle grade. The 5 elements heavenly tribulation has already been attracted when it was promoted to the middle level. It seems that helping the world seed to improve its grade is simply a kind of heaven-defying action that goes against the workings of heaven and earth. Di Shitian pondered and said, since it can trigger the 5 elements heavenly tribulation when it evolves to the upper grade, won't there be 9 levels of heavenly tribulation when it evolves to the middle grade? If it really evolves to perfection, will it attract the most terrifying heavenly punishment in the legends? It wasn't impossible. One had to know that the evolution of the source seed of the world was too terrifying. Even heaven and earth couldn't tolerate such behavior. It was going against the laws of nature. Speaking of which, it's possible. Ming was instantly astounded as well, and she pondered deeply for a moment before she said, "Shit, I was really too rash this time. You were able to easily resist the 5-element heavenly tribulation from before, but the heavenly tribulation you'll attract when you advance to the high rank will definitely be extremely terrifying. Perhaps even heaven demons would fear it. I remember that when that madman was evolving the source seed of the world, he asked 3 ancient giants to help protect it. In the end, only one of the 3 experts walked out. The other 2 were never seen again. It seems that they must have been attacked by the heavenly tribulation. Even the ancient giants were killed. Otherwise, we should wait until the 1,000-demon city is completed to upgrade the source seed of the world. We should set up the god-restricting sphere and all kinds of formations and restrictions, and then use the power of the 1,000-demon city to block the terrifying heavenly tribulation. Ming stopped instigating at this time and started to persuade him. After all, this was too dangerous. With Di Shitian's current strength, it was indeed not enough to block the increasingly powerful heavenly tribulation. Even the heavenly punishment might appear in the future. If he really attracted the heavenly punishment, he might even be killed on the spot. No. Originally, Ming's suggestion should have been the most conservative method, but on the contrary, Di Shitian lowered his brows and pondered for a moment. Then, he suddenly opened his eyes and firmly rejected it. He said in a deep voice, "I still have a trump card." As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and touched his forehead. The purple vertical mark immediately flashed with divine light. Heavenly punishment, divine eyes. Could it be that you want to borrow the power of the century slave seal again and use the cultivation of Tian Can and Huang Quan to instantly raise your cultivation to the heavenly demon realm? Ming frowned slightly and said, even though the ability of the Century Slave Seal is extremely miraculous and can allow you to fight against a formidable opponent. However, you only have 3 chances to use such a divine ability in your life. After the 3rd time, he used it again. This time, he directly burned the primordial spirits of Sky Silkworm and Huang Quan. His primordial spirit collapsed and he died on the spot. You already used it once in the God's Fall Abyss. 2 more times. He would never have such an opportunity again. This was his last resort to save his life. Moreover, even if you rushed to the heavenly demon realm, you might not be able to resist the heavenly punishment. Although the Century Slave Seal was powerful, its restrictions were also not small. For example, this kind of heaven-defying method that could borrow the power of others, the restrictions were even more shocking. 3 times, there were only 3 chances. Once the 3rd time was used, the Century Slave Seal would collapse if he forcibly used it again. Even the person who was implanted with this kind of slave seal would die instantly. 2 times, there were only 2 chances left. It was simply his last resort to save his life. It was an unconventional deterrent force like nuclear weapons. At the critical moment, it was his greatest reliance and foundation. Every time was precious. The first time he used it, he would snatch the endless treasures in front of him and increase the foundation of the 1,000 demon city by an unknown amount. It was enough to support the complete construction of the 1,000 demon city. The benefits were immeasurable. Now, he had to use it again. This point, Ming obviously did not agree. No. Suddenly, Ming rolled his eyes and said in surprise, "Heavenly punishment, divine eyes?" Heavenly punishment. Ming's eyes suddenly opened wide. His 2 dragon eyes were about to pop out and fall to the ground. With a look of disbelief, he said in horror, "Could it be? Are you guessing that the heavenly punishment divine eyes on you are related to the legendary heavenly punishment that judges all living beings? It's possible. It's really possible. Legend has it that the heavenly punishment appears in the shape of an eye. Oh my God. Could it be that those old bastards were so daring? Could it be that they directly captured a divine punishment and refined it into this eye? Lunatics, they are all F*King lunatics." Ming waved his body crazily in the nether prison, and his dragon whiskers kept waving. His eyes were full of disbelief. Obviously, he could not believe the inference in front of him. Could it be that the Cursemancer really imprisoned a heavenly punishment eye and refined it like a magic treasure? Whether it is or not, the heavenly punishment divine eyes must be related to it. Di Shitian said with unusual certainty. This was because every time he used the heavenly punishment divine eyes, he had a strong feeling that he was in control of the heavenly Tao. It was as if he was above the heavens, looking down on all living beings, and could easily wipe out countless existences. All living beings were like ants. This was what he could feel in the heavenly punishment divine eyes. If the 2 are really related, perhaps, we can use it to easily pass the last stage of the heavenly punishment. However, the second heavenly tribulation needs to be blocked by us. Sakra's eyes flashed with wisps of wisdom. The 100 generations slave imprint was too powerful. Unless he had no other choice, he would never use it. If he wasted it just to raise the grade of the world's source seed, even he wouldn't be able to forgive him. We have to survive the second heavenly punishment. There might be other ways. The corner of Di Shitian's mouth pulled out a meaningful arc. He did not immediately start to upgrade the life altar. Instead, he sat down and recovered the energy in his body. He turned and left the 4th heaven. He entered the 3rd heaven. At this moment, the demon city had been moved to the 3rd heaven. The space-time reversal here was 100 times. Looking at the 9 treasure mountains, at this moment, they had been leveled. A large number of treasures were sent into the Imperial Treasure House according to their respective grades. All of a sudden, the originally empty treasure trove became full. However, the treasure mountains were gone, but in the empty square, there were 5 more 10,000 Blades mountains. The discarded treasures and weapons that were selected from the treasures were all piled up here. There was also a large number of spirit ores that were continuously transported to the demon city. These spirit ores were piled up in another place. And in the demon city, Two new pavilions were built, the Forging Pavilion and the Alchemy Pavilion. In the Forging Pavilion, it was mainly a place to refine all kinds of raw materials, as well as to refine magic tools, magic treasures, and divine weapons. This was an important place that Di Shitian had ordered to be built. In the Forging Pavilion, there was a treasure that was plundered from the 10,000 treasures Red Tide, the 9 dragons' heaven-burning cauldron. The flames inside were simply the most precious treasures that all weapon refiners dreamed of. The magic treasures that were refined would naturally have the aura of a true dragon. Refining magic tools and magic treasures was not only twice the result with half the effort, but it also had the magical power to increase the grade. At this moment, a large number of spirit ores were being continuously transported in by the strong men of the Ox clan. They were being sent into the cauldron and refined by the 9 dragons' heaven-burning cauldron. All the impurities were quickly quenched. They obtained pieces of pure spirit ores. Then, they were placed into a special treasure box and transported to the Imperial Treasure House. In the Alchemy Pavilion, there was also a cauldron. That cauldron was also a treasure that was not inferior to the 9 dragons' heaven-burning cauldron. It was called the Universe 8 Trigrams Cauldron. It was the most precious treasure for refining pills. After the weapon refiners and alchemists that Di Shitian had captured in the past built these 2 pavilions, they were about to go crazy. Each of them guarded the 2 cauldrons with a fanatical expression in their eyes. Now, even if they were chased away, they might not be willing to leave. In addition, in the future, Ming would obtain the cultivation methods, various pill formulas, and weapon refinement methods from those souls. There was no need to worry that the demon clan would not have outstanding and powerful weapon refiners and alchemists. The 7 orifices exquisite pot was operating at full strength. Cubes of divine crystals were being forged continuously. With the support of sufficient materials, the speed of refining divine crystals was unfolding at an unprecedented speed. Cubes of divine crystals were piled up, almost forming a small mountain at the side. In front of the divine crystals, a large number of demon clan members had a yearning expression on their faces. They happily carried the divine crystals and continuously filled the divine crystals into the embryonic membrane of heaven and earth according to the designated location. The divine crystals and the embryonic membrane of heaven and earth merged together, causing the entire ancient city to materialize bit by bit. It turned from an illusion to a real ancient city. Compared to the past, the construction process back then was like a tortoise. Now, it had risen directly to an eagle. According to the current progress, the demon city only needed 100 years to complete the construction of the entire ancient city. In another 100 years, the various facilities in the city would be completed. If it took another 100 years, the ancient city would be even more complete. For example, the soil and vegetation of the ancient city would be laid down. All kinds of residences would be built. Wait. If he wanted to truly perfect it, he was afraid that he would need more time. Now, the most important buildings in the ancient city were the Chixian Pavilion, the Immortal Brew Pavilion, the Scripture Pavilion, the Jubao Court, the Forging Pavilion, and the Alchemy Pavilion. In addition to the Incheon Tower, basically all the major facilities had been built. Once the ancient city was completed, the god-trapping sphere could be integrated into the ancient city, causing the ancient city to have strong defensive and offensive abilities. These thoughts ran through Di Shitian's mind for a moment, and he kept them in the bottom of his heart. He was secretly satisfied. However, this time, he didn't come to see how the ancient city was being built. Instead, he came to look for Tian Can and Huang Quan. The 2 of them were in the Forging Pavilion at this moment. After sensing for a moment, Di Shitian knew their location and walked into the Forging Pavilion. Come on, brothers, come on. Monthly votes, throw them. I'm going to be boosted by the people behind me. Second update, this is the second update. I'm going to write the 3rd chapter now. Although it's a little late, it will definitely be there. Brothers, let's go. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 567. Tien Can, you old man, can you do it or not? Mph, you old fart, stop nagging. In terms of weapon refinement, if I, Tien Can, were to say that I'm second, who would dare to say that they're first? In this world, there's no one else who can refine a replica of the divine gate other than me. For this divine gate, back then, I personally ran to the forbidden grounds to feel the aura of the divine gate. But the materials required for this are too frightening. TSK, mica heavenly jade, sealing stone, skylock divine iron. These are all the most precious treasures in the world. Even if these 4 divine gates are refined, who knows how many precious materials will be consumed. The divine gate must be built. On the highest floor of the smithing pavilion, Indra pushed open the door and walked in. He saw Tian Silkworm and Huang Quan arguing and calculating something at the same time. After listening at the door for a while, he heard that they were talking about the refinement of the 4 divine gates. He immediately pushed the door open and walked in. He looked at the 2 elders and said firmly, "Everywhere in the demon city has been built. The only thing missing is the most important 4 divine gates that guard the 4 directions and 4 poles. The Real Divine Gate is in the 9 forbidden grounds. With our current strength, we can't enter at all. Since we can forge a replica, we'll temporarily replace it with a replica. No matter the cost, no matter how much it costs, we must refine it." Di Shitian looked at Tien Can, his eyes revealing an incomparably serious expression. The ancient city could be said to be a supreme ancient city that suppressed the ancient times. However, there were no city walls at all. The city walls were the 4 divine gates. Each divine gate was sealed on one side, directly replacing the city walls, turning the entire ancient city into an iron bucket divine city. Other than the divine gate, there was no other exit to cross the ancient city. Naturally, it was definitely not an ordinary treasure. To forge such a treasure, not only did it require a lot of materials, but each of them was an unimaginably precious treasure. Not to mention that they were extremely rare, some were even extremely difficult to find. "Your Majesty." Hesitation flashed across Tien Can's face, but he still said, "This time, Your Majesty plundered countless treasures from the myriad treasure Crimson Tide. There are countless precious items inside, and all of them were appraised by me and Huang Quan. Most of the materials needed to refine the Heaven Gate could be obtained from the Imperial Treasure Vault by relying on the merits of the Crimson Tide. However, if he wanted to refine the Gate of Heaven. However, we still lack the 5 most important treasures." 5 rare treasures? Di Shitian's heart tightened. The treasures obtained from the myriad treasure Crimson Tide this time were almost innumerable. Moreover, there were many kinds of treasures, including almost all the treasures in the universe. Everything was included in it. With such wealth, he could be said to be the 2nd richest man in the world. No one could compare to him. But now, there was a treasure that even he didn't have. He had no choice but to take this seriously. This meant that these 5 rare treasures were extremely rare and incomparably precious. None of them were easy to obtain. "Yes, Your Majesty." Tien Can still said, "These 5 rare treasures are the true secrets and abilities of the 4 heaven gates. Only by gathering all 5 of them could the fake Elysium possess immeasurable power. Even the ancient giants can't break it." "Which 5? Di Shitian didn't hesitate and asked on the spot. "Sealing stone, heaven sealing stone, heaven sealing stone, heaven sealing stone, void submerged stone, and immortal stone." Tien Can said as if he was familiar with his family's treasures, "The sealing stone can make the Heaven Gate have the power to seal. Anyone who passes through the Heaven Gate can be sealed on the spot once they are discovered to be an enemy. The Heaven Sealing Stone can't fly in the Heaven Gate. It has the power to imprison. It can forbid the demon city from flying. The Heaven Sealing Stone. It can seal the Heaven Gate. The Void Submerged Stone can make the ancient city have the power to travel through the void. The Immortal Stone can make the Heaven Gate have an almost immortal tenacity. Even an unparalleled expert can't completely destroy it. Every single one of the 5 types of heaven stones is extremely important. Only when these 5 types of heaven stones were gathered together would it truly possess the powerful might of the Heaven Gate. Even if it couldn't compare to a true natural spirit treasure, it was still a supreme treasure that was unique in the world. 5 types of heaven stones. Di took a deep breath. Even if he'd never seen it, he could guess that these 5 treasures were absolutely not ordinary treasures. Amongst them, he only knew of the sealing stone. Because this supreme treasure had been fused into the heavenspan yin-yang bridge, it possessed such inconceivable power and could even forcefully seal an earth-rank soldier soul. Thus, he inferred that the other 4 treasures were definitely not inferior to it at all. My God! So it's these 5 rare treasures. It's probably extremely difficult to find them. Ming couldn't help but inhale a breath of cool air after hearing this. Clearly, he was truly aware of how precious and rare these precious treasures were. Because these 5 types were called the 5 great divine stones in ancient times. They weren't ordinary items. They were divine items that fell from the chaos when heaven and earth were born. They were rare in number, especially since these rare treasures could conceal the power of heaven's secret. It was impossible to find them with divination methods. They were usually very ordinary stones. Without using special methods, it was impossible to recognize them. There were very few of them. Moreover, every time one was found, there would be one less. 4 heaven gates. If every heaven gate needed one, it meant that 4 of each type of heaven stone were needed. If this happened to anyone, they would completely go crazy. Your Majesty, I still have 4 sealing stones here. Tian Can clenched his teeth and suddenly took out a jade box. He opened the jade box and immediately saw 4 snow-white stones the size of a fist sitting quietly in the jade box. He said, back then, in order to refine the heavenspan yin-yang bridge, I paid a huge price and exchanged for 9 sealing stones from other experts. 5 of them have been used, and now there are only 4 left. They can be used to refine the heaven gates. To be able to take out such rare treasures, it could be seen that Tian Can was really cutting off his own flesh. 4 stones were equivalent to gathering 1 type of rare treasure. There were still 4 types left. Unfortunately, these things were treasures that could only be found but not sought. Shaking his head, he could only put these things aside for now. He changed the topic and said, Tian Can, Huang Quan, I need you to help me refine some formation discs and formation flags for the formation. The life altar was simply going against the heavens to raise the world's source seed. It would definitely trigger a terrifying heavenly tribulation. One heavenly tribulation was nothing, but what followed would definitely be a terrifying thunderbolt attack. The life altar didn't have any defensive power. If it was really hit, it would be destroyed instantly. With his current peak 4th transformation monster core cultivation, Di wasn't arrogant enough to dare to fight against the heavenly tribulation alone. If his cultivation couldn't compare, he could only rely on external items. Formations were one of the most commonly used types of formations. As soon as he said this, Tian Can and Huang Quan also became excited. Huang Quan didn't hesitate to take out his unique formation, Huang Quan's purgatory formation diagram. They didn't hold back at all for Di. After all, in front of the century slave seal, if the master died, the slave would also die. No one could stop it. If one fell, all fell. If one rose, all rose. How could they have other thoughts? Bang bang bang. After instructing Tian Can and Huang Quan to refine the formation, Di walked out of the forging pavilion. Suddenly, a green Luan sword attendant rushed over. When he saw him, he immediately knelt on one knee and said, Your Majesty, the Demon Empress requests for you to go to the Lingxiao Palace immediately. Chen Shi. When Sakura heard that, his mind moved and he quickly swept towards the location of the Lingxiao King Hall. Ever since the Lingxiao Palace was built, it was used to summon generals and officials to discuss important matters. It was one of the most important places in the Demon City. At this moment, Chen Shi actually asked him to rush to the palace immediately. Something big must have happened. Regarding this, he didn't hesitate at all. He entered the palace as fast as he could. In the main hall, Chen Shi was sitting on the Demon Emperor's seat. In the hall, Kai Hua, Ying Kong, and a few other commanders were standing below anxiously. Looking at their expressions, It was obvious that they had encountered something very important. Your Majesty. When they saw Di Shitian enter, they quickly collected their emotions and greeted him respectfully. Passing through the main hall, he sat down on the Lingxiao Palace's throne. He waved his hand and asked Kai Hua and the others to stand up. He said, "Did something happen outside?" He went straight to the point. If there was nothing, Kai Hua and the others still had to take charge of the 4 armies. It was impossible for them to leave their posts. On the contrary, the matter became very obvious. Your Majesty. Kai Hua's face was solemn. He said, "Just now, in the outside world, a group of rats suddenly dug through the ground when they were excavating a spirit mine. They discovered that there was actually another world hidden underground. This world is extremely vast. When I received the news, I didn't dare to hesitate and immediately came to report it. Furthermore, the Heavenly Fragrance Empress and the others have already received the news and rushed over." This one sentence made Di Shitian secretly surprised on the spot. There was actually a huge underground world hidden in this world. What's going on? Countless thoughts ran through Di Shitian's mind quickly. His eyes flashed with wisdom. He thought to himself, this world is filled with a huge amount of heaven and earth essence qi. It is much denser than the purple gold mainland. Together with the power of the sun, moon, and stars, it is the most suitable place for the demon race to live. It is impossible for such a world to not have life. Could it be that they are all living underground? Indeed, there had always been a question in the bottom of his heart. It was that there was actually no way to see half a living being in this world. This kind of situation was really strange, so strange that it made people afraid. After all the circumstances indicated that this was not normal at all. It was not some kind of terrifying danger. It was just some kind of unstoppable disaster. The appearance of the underground world was like a bolt of lightning that suddenly solved his question. "Xia, let's go. Let's go and take a look." Di Shitian did not hesitate and decided to go and investigate. He immediately said to Chen Shi. Third update, requesting votes. Pushing up the monthly votes. Brothers, do your best. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. I support the author. I support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,